All right, we're muted. Now we're not muted. Welcome in, everybody. This is LTL. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Let's Talk Live here on the LTL Media Channel. I hope everybody's having a fantastic Memorial Day weekend. I've been working like an absolute dog, and I have two more days of work, and then I get Wednesday and Thursday off. So I'm super excited about that. Has anybody done any barbecues or vacationing? What are you all doing right now? What are you all doing? But it's nice here to be with all of you. We're going to get into the recent testimony of Brian Higgins. He's been a very naughty boy. But it's funny. I look at all the headlines lately, and I knew that this is what they were going to lead with. The Kiss and Tell story. Karen Read trial takes romantic twist. Not that the fact that an ATF agent downloaded select text messages via an FBI kiosk and turned over only those select text messages to the Canton Police Department and the Mass State Police, and then destroys his phone and his SIM card. They don't talk about that. They want to talk about this sixth grade texting between Brian Higgins and Karen Read. And, it's funny. I got a couple of things that I guess I could say about it. One, we know Karen reached out to him. This conversation, we saw the text messages, like 60 pages. It literally put me to sleep. It was like sixth grade texting. This guy has one, no game, and two, listen, dude, if your friend that you say is your friend, his chick is hitting you up, you follow man code. And you go to that person right away, John O'Keefe in this situation, and say, hey, dude, I got to talk to you. Your chick is hitting me up, and here's the text messages. But, of course, Brian Higgins continues those text messages back and forth with Karen. And I got to be honest with you. I don't see anything in there that, yeah, she's texting with them. She's flirting with them. She's saying he's hot. Maybe she was trying to get John back for when they went away in Aruba, and that's supposedly the flirting situation. Maybe she was pissed at him about that. Said, I'll get him back. How do we know that this behavior wasn't before in their relationship before? What? Because you flirted with someone, or you might have made a pass at someone? That's going to make you a murderer? I don't think so. But I do think that, one, Higgins has no game, and two, he should have called it out and said, hey, John, check this stuff out, but continue to text with Karen like a sixth grader until she finally ghosted him because she was probably sick of hearing from him and not, I think, like, even at one point too, he's like, come to my house. He had her come over there and she's like, what are you doing? Like, what are we doing? And so what? They shared a peck, a kiss. Oh no, a kiss. Still doesn't make you a murderer in my book. But let's pull this up. Maureen, thank you so much for the $9.99 super sticker. 25% of your donation tonight will get kicked back to Karen Read, and hopefully we can reach the goal of $50 for Karen tonight. So it's the way that I look at it is, I think Brian Higgins has a lot more to hide in this, knowing everything that happened. He goes on to talk about in his testimony that he had a 22-second call. I believe it was with Brian Higgins, but he doesn't remember because he butt dialed that. And I said this on Twitter the other day, like, look, I get it. And I find it very strange. I think 3 people now have come up and said that they all butt dialed each other in this case. Now I can understand maybe one person butt dials, but 3 that are involved in a case, it's statistically impossible that would even happen. I can't even remember the last time I even I wouldn't say butt dialed, but at least hit someone's phone number incorrectly. And listen, Brian, I got another thing for you. You probably have facial recognition on your phone. You have to at least put a passcode in. So was your butt to get past was that your facial recognition using your ass to get past that? Or was your butt cheeks typing in your 4-digit code or 6-digit code? What is it, Brian? Doesn't make sense. Absolutely doesn't make sense. And then the fact that this all goes down And Brian Higgins destroys his phone, and Brian Albert destroys his phone. And he said, oh, Higgins goes, oh, it could have been a possibility that I took the SIM card out, but that was my right to do that and destroy that. No, not evidence that potentially could be evidence in a murder case. So to me, you have something to hide, and you're hiding a lot. Uh, yeah, so much. Debbie says so much butt dialing. Yeah, absolutely. All these butt dials. Everybody's butt dialing everybody. Yeah, Jennifer says so. Albert butt dials Higgins, and Higgins butt dials him back. And then I almost want to say, I think it was either Jen McCabe or Matt McCabe said that they were a butt dialer as well too. It statistically would never happen. Like, I get it, one person, but statistically, 3 people that are involved in the same case all said that they butt dialed each other. It statistically would never happen. All right, let's pull this up really quick. I have this article from Boston 25, and I'm going to read a little bit from it, and then we are going to get into the testimony, the Brian Higgins testimony. Well, we might not do all of it. I might skip through some of it, but I definitely want to go through some of this. So it says, May 24th, Dedham, Brian Higgins, an ATF agent who was a friend of Brian Albert, a Boston police officer who owned the home in Canton where fellow officer John O'Keefe was found dead in the snow in January 2022, testified Friday about flirtatious text messages he exchanged with Karen Reed, the woman charged in the death of O'Keefe. And the way that I look at it is this. Karen Reed eventually ghosted Brian Higgins, didn't want to talk to him anymore. When she got to the waterfall, when they got to the water, I'm going to sneeze. Hang on one second. At least I thought I was going to sneeze. I might sneeze. Hang on. But gets to the waterfall that night and essentially ignores Brian Higgins. And, he had this flirtatious text. He seemed to keep pursuing her. She ghosted him for about 6 days until John died. And then after that one message, John died, he's not following up. He's not saying anything. He essentially was having conversation with her at that point. Why would you not dig? Why would you not ask questions? Why would you not try to put that on the record in some type of text message? Get that on the record. And when I look at these text messages, I don't see anything that Karen Reed has put out there. There's nothing in that conversation. Oh, I want John dead. I want to leave John. I hate John. There's none of that even in there. So, so what? They had some text messages. They flirted a little bit. Maybe she was feeling lonely. Maybe she did see Brian Higgins as an attractive man. I don't know. Or maybe she was using him knowing that the possibility of her reaching out to him, getting to Higgins, hoping that Higgins would go back to John and say something. Maybe she was angry at John. I don't know. I don't really care. I didn't see anything incriminating in those text messages, except for like 6th grade flirting with this dude that just kept like talking like a 6th grader. Are you sure? How do you feel? It's mutual. So it goes into Higgins was out, who was out with a group of people drinking in Canton bars with Reed and O'Keefe on the night of the death, had a romantic interest in Reed. According to her defense team, the defense team also alleged that Higgins coaxed O'Keefe to the Albert house and later destroyed his phone. Higgins was the first person Albert called after learning of O'Keefe's death, but the cell phone data presented evidence showed that Albert also called Higgins at 2:22 a.m., hours before O'Keefe's body was found. Albert said he inadvertently made the call, which is a butt dial, to Higgins during the intimate, because it was during an intimate situation with his wife. Tell me a question. Answer me a question. What happened at 2:27 a.m.? Ironically, this butt dial call happened at 2:22. What happened at 2:27 a.m.? Diane, thank you so much. She said, I think it was Jen McCabe that said she butt dialed 5 or 6 times when they were at the Alberts waiting for John, or they were the deleted calls to John. Yes, I think you are correct. What happened at 2:27 a.m.? But I find this all ironic that all of this stuff happened between all of that time. And I also said this too. A lot of weird things came up and happened around the date of February 3rd. And I got to go back and dig a little bit into this. You had Jen McCabe turning her phone over to police at that time. It was the first time that the police processed Karen Reed's SUV on the 3rd. And I find the timing of all of that very strange too. And I know there's other significant things that happen. Yes, the Google search. That's right. And there's other things that happen around February 3rd as well. I have to just go back and look at a timeline. I want to nail that down because I find it all very interesting that everybody was together around the 3rd. And they're handing their phones over at that point. They're processing the potential murder weapon at Canton PD on that day. Why would you wait so long? Why would you wait so long? You had Karen Reed's SUV in the next day. It sat in the Canton Sally port for almost 3 to 4 days afterwards before they started processing. Why? So we're going to get a little bit of background on the case. We already know that already. Prosecutors say that Reed and Higgins exchanged many romantic text messages in the weeks before John O'Keefe's death. Higgins was asking to read them in court. Oh my God. Look at these hot text messages. Foul ball. You stink. You suck. You're double trouble. You're hot. Are you serious? Or are you messing with me? No, I'm serious. Feeling is mutual. Is that bad? How long have you thought that? I literally feel like I was watching a high school text message stream. Guy has no game. Anyway, Higgins goes on to reply, no, I'm serious. He wrote, feeling is mutual. Is that bad? How long have you thought that? Higgins was also told in court that he was leaving O'Keefe's house one day, and Reed planted a kiss on him. Not like a friend, Higgins said. Added that he interpreted it as a romantic kiss. In other exchange messages, Reed told Higgins, I'm glad you came over tonight. Okay. All right. Reed also revealed in text that her relationship with O'Keefe had deteriorated and that he had hooked up with another girl on vacation. So maybe she's trying to get him back a little bit. Who knows? I'm not proud of these text messages, but I take the responsibility at the same time. Higgins said at one point during his testimony, John was his friend. But if he was your friend and you stuck to guy code, you should have kicked back to John and said, hey, dude, let me pull you aside for a second. Did you know this is happening? Let me show you. Your chick's reaching out to me. Higgins then told the court that the last text that he received from Reed was John died. Reed's attorney, Alan Jackson, kicked off cross-examination by questioning Higgins about his romantic interest in Reed. He responded, I was physically attracted to her. Early that week, Laura Sullivan, a longtime friend of O'Keefe, testified that Reed became enraged with O'Keefe during a vacation in Aruba weeks before his death, accusing him of kissing her sister. Let's see. Jennifer McCabe also testified that soon after O'Keefe's body was found, Reed screamed, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. No, she didn't. And frantically said, asked her to conduct a Google search. How long does it take for someone to die of hypothermia? The defense has accused McCabe of conducting an incriminating internet searches hours before John O'Keefe's body was discovered and then deleting the search to cover her tracks, which we have the Celebrite information. She did do it, and she did delete it to cover her tracks. The case was garnered national attention because the defense alleged the state and the local law enforcement officials framed Reed and allowed the real killer to go free. All right, let's get into some of this testimony on cross. Excuse me. I want to go through the cross today. Just the cross. I can't listen to Lally. He'll put me to sleep. All right, let's pick it up with Jackson when he first takes cross-examination here on Brian Higgins.
Thank you, Your Honor. Who did you come here today with, Mr. Higgins?
Who did I travel to the courthouse with?
Who did you meet here?
An attorney, my attorney.
Is there a reason that you felt compelled to bring an attorney with you for your testimony as a witness in a homicide investigation?
And I love
trial, I should say.
Sustained.
I love when Jackson starts taking some hits at Higgins at the end. And you'll see that coming up.
You brought your attorney with you who's sitting right behind you, correct?
That is not my attorney.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were his attorney. My mistake. Where's your attorney?
I don't know. He might be in the courthouse.
Is he in the building?
I don't know where he physically is right now.
Okay. Without telling me anything that you said to your attorney, did you meet with him this morning before your testimony?
Yes.
Did you meet with him during the break? Again, don't tell me what you talked about, but did you meet with him during the break when we took a break a few minutes ago?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And obviously the subject matter, again, without telling me any communication, the subject matter was your testimony here today, correct?
No.
And this guy might be in trouble for a federal crime for what he did. You know, going to his friend, Michael Kelch, that is a forensics FBI agent in digital data. So Higgins goes to him, asks him, is there a way to extract select text messages to hand them over for this investigation? And ultimately destroys his phone. Goes in and uses FBI resources, a kiosk, to do this. And probably what happened, and I said this with Kurt the other day when Kurt from Uncivil Law was on my show. I said, Kurt, probably what happened was someone took a audit of the machine to see what data was being pulled. They probably have a log to keep all that information logged in. It probably wasn't logged. And again, I'm only speculating. And someone went to Kelch and said, what is this? Do you know about this? Like, who is this person? And then that's essentially how everything came out. And Kelch probably had to come forth and say, this is what happened. I mean, essentially Higgins was using that for personal use. It wasn't part of a case that he was investigating. It wasn't part of a case that Kelch was investigating. And why wouldn't, if you had nothing to hide, why wouldn't you just look at the investigators in the Karen Reed case and say, here's my phone, take a forensic extraction of it. Yet you take select text messages that you want to show of this flirtatious back and forth, and then you're going to take your phone and pull the SIM card and destroy it? What are you hiding? What are you hiding at that point? And then when he's asked on the stand from Alan Jackson, he can't give him a straight answer. All right, let's get through this.
How many conversations have you had with Mr. Lally about your testimony or your proposed testimony in anticipation of you testifying today?
One.
When was that?
That was on Monday.
How long was that conversation?
I would say under an hour and a half.
In person?
Yeah, this is crazy too. And I'll answer this. Jason says, Alan got to Higgins breaking the law and the judge wouldn't allow it. I mean, that's pure bias in this case. They pulled the jury. He was questioned outside the presence of the jury. And then when the jury came back in, Judge Bev looked at Jackson and said, I don't know how much of this I'm going to allow. Are you kidding me? A federal crime was committed. A federal crime was committed. And believe me, there's going to be follow-up on Tuesday.
Over the phone?
In person.
Where was that conversation?
That was at the DA's office.
Who else was there?
My attorney, victim witness advocate, I believe her name is Kristen Collins, ADA McLaughlin, ADA Lally, and Lieutenant Brian Tully from the Mass State Police.
Anybody taking notes?
I did not. I don't know if anybody was taking notes.
Well, you were sitting there watching Lieutenant Tully. Did he take notes?
Not that I saw, no.
So you had an hour and a half long conversation with the prosecution team and a police officer witness, and you're telling me that you did not see anybody taking a single note down. Is that right?
That's correct. I did hand something to Lieutenant Tully, but he didn't take any notes in reference to what I handed him.
What'd you hand him?
I handed him a piece of mail that I got at my residence.
Anything having to do with this case?
Oh, I believe so.
Was that turned over to Mr. Lally?
No, I turned it over to State Police.
Your Honor, may we approach for a second?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to speed up the sidebar.
I don't know if anybody was taking notes.
Well, you were sitting there watching Lieutenant Tully. Did he take notes? And you explained, look, there was a personal relationship that I had with Chief Berkowitz.
I did.
It was born out of
Tragedy.
a family tragedy that he was aware of.
Horrible tragedy, yes.
And based on that personal friendship and that personal relationship, he offered you the convenience of officing out of Canton PD.
I would say that's a good summary.
And in addition to just having an office there, you also had a key card access, correct?
I did, to get in and out.
What was the name that you used? You said it was a proxy card?
I think it's called, I think in the IT world, it's probably called a proxy card. That's what I know it to be.
So you had both a physical office and full access to Canton PD, all based on the friendship and relationship and convenience. The friendship and relationship you had with Chief Berkowitz and the convenience that he wanted to give you for having that office there, correct?
No, I wouldn't say full access. I had access to certain areas within the department.
Well, you certainly had access to and from your office.
Yes,
You had ingress and egress to the Canton Police Department.
yes.
You could go in.
So there's a couple of things that I think about in all of this now that all of this came out. Now, could it have been a situation where obviously Higgins was ghosted by Karen? He still wanted Karen. John comes over to 34 Fairview and Higgins starts a fight with John. Or could it have been the other way around where John might have known something happened and maybe got to 34 Fairview, confronted Higgins inside the house, and a fight breaks out and it gets out of hand? That possibly could have happened. So those are the two theories that I'm kind of throwing around right now. And I know there's many, and we speculate many of them, but that could be two of the possibilities that happen. All right, let's keep playing.
In and out of the Sally Port.
I could.
You could go upstairs to Chief Berkowitz's office.
Yes.
You could go downstairs to the dispatch area, which is on the first floor,
Absolutely.
correct?
Yes.
And then you could go out to the Sally Port, into the Sally Port, across that garage, those 2 bay doors at your leisure.
Well, that would exclude the evidence room, the arms room, and places like that. I didn't have access to those places.
Right. But the places that I just mentioned, you did have access to.
Yes, absolutely.
You'd had that office for what? Back in January of 2022. Probably had that office for more than 3 years.
I would estimate probably sometime around 2018.
2018. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think one of the most damning parts of all this, and Jackson's going to get to it, and basically why he's walking Higgins through this, is that he's going to show that he had access to probably about 90% of the areas in the Canton PD. He just said he didn't have access to the arms room and a couple other rooms, but he had access to that Sally Port in and around the time that Karen's SUV was there, and those solo cups, the solo cup evidence was brought into that Sally Port. So he had access at that point. Excuse me.
Not 18 years. 2018.
No, 2018. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I apologize.
So, yeah, maybe close to 4 years.
Yes.
Okay. I want to turn your attention.
Oh yeah, absolutely, Neil. Neil's asking, hey Brian, can I get a shout out for the Plymouth Standout? They were out there today, and I was able to meet them. Awesome. Shout out to the Plymouth Standout. I know you're always out there, and we see all the photos in the Justice for John O'Keefe Facebook group. Rogue says, considering Higgins texted Karen before she left the bar, I think one of them started something as soon as John walked in the house. Yeah, it possibly could be. I mean, you got to think everybody was inebriated that night. Certainly, something could have came up. Hey, I know about the text messages. Boom. Or Higgins says, hey, why are you with Karen? Boom. Could have been something like that. All right, let's play.
Mr. Higgins to January 28, January 29, 2022. By the way, I should ask another foundational question. Are you currently still at ATF?
Yep.
Am I
you're right.
employed by ATF?
Correct.
Yes, I am. A special agent. Yes.
And what is your
Yes, duty.
current billet or your assignment?
Objection.
Is that something you're?
Yes, duty.
I'm assigned to division operations at this time.
Okay, what does that mean? You're taken out of the field?
Was I taken out of the field? Yes.
Or you no longer
Yep.
in the field?
Objection, Your Honor. Move to strike.
Sustained, let's move on. We may be able to come back to this.
Yes,
Thank you, Your Honor.
duty.
I want to turn your attention now to January 28, 29, 2022. You recall those dates?
I do.
You've been living with those dates for the last couple of years.
Like a nightmare.
John O'Keefe's body was found outside your friend Brian Albert's house on the morning of January 29th, 2022, correct?
Yes.
You've previously testified that on January 28th, you had gone to New York for this memorial service, correct?
Funeral service. Yes.
The funeral service, not the memorial. You separate the two.
So, well, the wake would be the night before. Funeral, I call them the services. It wasn't a memorial. Memorial to me would be more of like an annual thing. This was the services.
Understood.
Just want to be clear.
So you went with Brian Albert, Kevin Albert, and Eddie Hernandez. Is that right?
I traveled down there myself, but I met up with them.
To go to the services.
Yes.
Is it fair to say that you and Brian Albert and Kevin Albert sort of run in the same social and professional circles?
I mean, without speaking for anybody else, I think we know a lot of the same people.
Go to some of the same holiday parties, for instance.
Yes.
Go to some of the same events, whether they're law enforcement events or otherwise.
Retirement parties. Yes. Things like that.
Might meet up at a bar and have a social drink together.
Yes.
Might share a meal together, correct?
Yes.
And you would agree that you particularly are pretty well connected to the Canton law enforcement community.
Could you qualify that? Explain that?
You know quite a few cops, right?
Well, it's a
Well, essentially, and I'll go back to this, essentially that, well, that's because she ghosted him. And then the last interaction that they had before John was murdered, was killed. So she was, Karen essentially moved on and ghosted him and didn't pay any attention. He still was like, what the hell? I'm serious. It's like a sixth grader. It's like high school texts. This guy, his game is like a high school kid. High school kid probably has better game, but anyway.
small department, so I do know everybody in the building in some capacity.
Okay, so my question is, you know quite a few cops in Canton.
She
I do.
moved on.
Pretty good friends with, as a matter of fact, maybe best friends with the chief of police, former chief of police, Kenny Berkowitz, correct?
Yes,
You know Brian Albert, he's a Boston police officer.
yes,
You know his brother and worked with his brother at Canton PD, correct?
yes.
So it's fair to say, back to my original question, you're relatively well connected in the law enforcement community, the fabric of that community in Canton. Is that right?
Well, I think that comes with working with people, yes.
Is that yes or no?
Yes,
Okay. As a matter of fact, you've even given a personal toast at one of these events, these retirement events, et cetera, correct?
Chief Berkowitz, yes.
And during the course of that toast, you even said, if you want to hide a body, Kenny Berkowitz is your man, correct?
Objection.
Did you
That's a
say
joke.
that? Did you say that?
I don't recall that.
You don't remember telling that joke in front of a room full of folks?
I don't.
If you want to hide a body, Kenny Berkowitz is your man?
I don't.
You will agree that some of your closest friends are some of the more powerful people in Canton in terms of politics and law enforcement, right?
Objection.
Ask it differently.
Right. Yep, you're right.
At that same retirement dinner, there were members of the DA's office there, correct?
Yes,
As a matter of fact, the DA, Michael Morrissey, was there.
I believe he was at one point.
All right. And that was the same event that you gave either a keynote speech or some sort of a speech for Chief Berkowitz's retirement. Is that right?
Yes.
How long have you known Brian Albert specifically?
I think I had some interaction with him when I was on the Cambridge Fire Department in my capacity in fire investigations. And then I would say pretty much through my entire career at ATF, I came into contact with Brian.
Give me a number of years.
Well, I've been with ATF now for 15 years. I've probably known him at least that whole time.
You'd say that you have both a social and professional working relationship with him?
I would say, yes, he's a friend.
Frequently drink together,
We have drank together. I wouldn't say frequently, but yes, we've drank together.
break bread together, have meals together?
Absolutely. Had lunch.
As a matter of fact, you were asked at a prior hearing whether or not you could put a number on the number of times that you've had drinks with Brian Albert. You said somewhere around 50 or something like that? Or actually you said under 50.
Under 50, I think I might have said 30.
And that was in 2 years, correct?
Yes.
So not under 50 in the entirety of your relationship, a 15-year relationship with Brian Albert, literally in the prior 2 years when you gave your testimony in June of 2023, in those 2 years, you met up with him and had drinks under 50 times.
Was that a question?
Yes,
Well, could you rephrase it?
sure. Is it true that you testified, answer, quote, I mean, in 2 years? I mean, maybe.
Look, if you're looking at Karen Reed as the poster child for morality and wholesome, pure, listen, people flirt, people cheat, people have fights. It doesn't make them a murderer. I'm still waiting at this point, and we're almost 4 weeks in this trial. My voice cracked. I'm still waiting for this bombshell from the Commonwealth. I haven't seen anything. If anything, all signs are pointing towards these witnesses for covering everything up. And knowing that, Higgins got torched the other day at the end of court with the potential federal crime that he's involved in. And he's going to get followed up on Tuesday from Yannetti. He's still going to have some answering to do. They're not going to let this go. And, he's got a lot to answer for. He's going to be in trouble.
Maybe under 50, end quote. That was your testimony to how often you socialized with Brian Albert, correct?
So we socialized more when I started working with his unit.
Okay, so my question is, well,
I don't know the exact number, but yes, we socialized. Absolutely.
that's all I was getting at.
Okay, that's fine. There's no secrets here, right? He's my friend.
Mr. Higgins, let me ask the questions. I get it.
That's fine.
I get it. You also know Brian Albert well enough to know what his relationship with, for instance, the other guy that you traveled back from New York with, Eddie Hernandez.
I do know Eddie Hernandez. I actually know Eddie the longest out of everybody.
So you knew Eddie, or Officer Hernandez.
Objection,
before
Your
you
Honor.
Ask the question.
You knew.
If he didn't do something wrong and law enforcement didn't, and his bosses didn't think he was doing something wrong, why was he pulled from the field? And why is he on a desk duty right now? Because Higgins is going to be in a lot of trouble with the shit that he did. Why would he be on desk duty right now? He would still be active in the field. He's got some, going to have some problems.
Officer Hernandez before you ever knew Brian Albert.
Yes.
You knew him before you even knew Kevin Albert.
Yes.
And you're aware that there was a physical altercation
Objection,
between
Your Honor.
Brian Albert and Eddie Hernandez that you're
Excuse me.
aware of, correct?
The objection sustained.
Are you aware that Brian Albert had gotten into a fist fight with Eddie Hernandez?
Objection.
Sustained.
Were you at a Christmas party when that happened?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained is to that form. You can be specific.
Have you ever been at an event with Brian Albert and Eddie Hernandez and seen them fight?
Objection.
Christmas 5 years or so before 2022.
Okay, the objection sustained.
You do know that Brian Albert has a reputation for being a fighter.
Objection.
Sustained.
You were asked in a formal interview. Do you recall? I want to make sure I'm clear about some of your prior statements. You had a formal interview with some folks prior to your testimony at a prior proceeding. You understand what I'm talking about?
I'm tracking.
Okay. At the formal interview, which is what I'm going to call that.
Okay.
The formal interview, you were asked.
Yes, I do, because it goes back to this. If Karen, in my opinion, if Karen Reed is reaching out to one of John's friends, then at that point, Higgins should have stopped, in my opinion, and went to John and said, hey, did you know this? Did you see what happened? But he kept going and kept going and kept pushing it, essentially was pursuing her at that point. That's probably why I didn't want those text messages to come out. But again, I go back and say it. And I go, he's pursuing her. That could potentially lead up to he's upset and jealous that John is with her. So when John gets to 34 Fairview, fights breaks out, gets out of hand. They throw John outside to cover everything up. That's why he destroyed his phone. That's why I didn't want people reading those text messages. And who knows? Maybe he did. Maybe that did happen. That's why he covered everything up and went to his FBI buddy. Hey, help me out. But he put himself in a pretty sticky situation now. And Higgins might be facing federal charges. All right, let's keep playing.
About Brian Albert and his reputation, were you not? Yes or no?
Yes.
You indicated in that formal interview that even Chief Berkowitz was
Objection.
quote, a little afraid of Brian Albert.
All right, so that is the objection sustained. That's stricken. I'll see you at sidebar.
I want to move up.
The John died text. After that incident, it's safe to say, we've just gone through a number of them, you exchanged flirtatious texts with Miss Reed. Is that right?
Is the incident you're referring to when she kissed me?
No, I'm saying after that. After that incident, yes, after the Patriots game,
Okay. Yep.
you exchanged flirtatious texts
We did.
with Miss Reed.
I did.
And that was over the course of a few weeks, a couple of weeks, but just 9
Judge
days.
sidebar.
Is that right?
So it was between the January 12th and I would say before the 28th, because the 28th, she didn't respond. And the 29th, she sent that last text that John died.
Well,
Those
Sasha,
weren't,
You've looked at the text, right?
I have.
You just looked at the last couple of texts.
I did.
The last text that she sent of any substance was January 23rd, right? Almost a
Well,
week.
I think the text,
Almost a
I think the
week.
text on the 29th, John died, there's substance there.
Okay, I'm not suggesting, I'm talking about after you said, well,
Yeah.
28, right? The text of substance between the two of you, talking between the two of you, not the John died text. That substance ended on the 23rd, didn't it?
I'd have to have the text in front of me to agree with you.
I think it's right here, Mr. Jackson, right in front of the exhibits right there.
Thank you. May I approach?
Yes.
Well, and I'm just going to counter this, Mary, and I'm going to go back to this. If Higgins is John's friend, you go to your friend and you say, hello, friend. Did you know this is going on? See? You don't keep going with it. I'm sorry. My friends would say, did you know your girl's texting me? Here's the text messages to prove it. And I wasn't involved in anything. So I do hold Higgins responsible in this. 100%. That's called breaking guy code. You don't do that. You don't allow things like that to go on. So yeah, Higgins was pursuing Karen. Higgins did have a thing for her. And then he got upset when she ghosted him for 6 days and then did the, well, because she was ignoring him at that time.
Thank you. Okay, are you directing me to the 23rd?
I'm directing you to the last page. Just look at everything on it.
I wouldn't do that to my
fresh recollection. This is the last substantive.
I wouldn't continue a flirty text message with my friend's girl. I would go to my friend and say, did you know this is going on?
Texts about you and Karen before.
Doesn't matter, Mary. It doesn't matter. It's a thing between guys. If your chick is reaching out to me and she's flirting with me, you go to your buddy, his friend. He said, John O'Keefe was my friend. You go to your friend and you say, your chick is texting me, looking for a little side action here. I wanted you to know about it. I care about you, John. You're my friend. Friends don't do that to friends. You go forward and let them know, hey, this is going down. It should end. I haven't gotten involved in anything. I haven't said anything, but she's been hitting me up. That's a problem. That's a problem between guys.
Yes, it'd be the 23rd at 9:40.
Okay. So it was 9 days.
Yeah, and then he invited her to his
between
house.
the two of you, correct?
I believe
did
so.
try to
Yes.
sleep with her.
And aside from the kiss goodbye, you two never had any sort of physical contact with one another.
Do you mean intimate when you say physical?
Correct.
Yes.
We're talking about shaking her hand, Mr. Higgins.
Well, I want to answer your question truthfully.
I would like you to too. You didn't have any physical intimate contact with Miss Reed, correct?
No, I did not.
There was no other hugs or kisses or certainly no sex.
No.
And when she said,
He's
I'm glad you
angry.
came over tonight in one of those texts that you just
That he didn't get it.
read a few minutes ago, she was referring to the Patriots game with John there and a big crowd there, correct?
Yes.
Over the course of that week or so, Ms. Reed did explain her feelings about her relationship with Mr. O'Keefe, correct? In text messages.
During the pendency of our communication, she did express, yes.
And she indicated that there's a difference between being married to someone and dating someone, et cetera. We saw those texts. Is that right?
Yes.
She also indicated that in terms of the situation in Aruba, she was upset by that, but it's not that big a deal, correct?
It was clear to me she was upset.
And she said, I don't care too much about that other girl, right?
Well, at least that's what she said in text, yes.
That's what I'm asking you. Is that what she said in text, Mr. Higgins? It's not a trick question.
That's what she said in text.
Right. She said something along the lines of, I'm just trying to be realistic. There's cracks in the relationship. It's far from perfect. Is that right?
I think that's something she texted.
All right. And you'll agree that during the course of these texts, you were constantly asking for clarity and explanation from her. Were you not?
During our communication, I did ask for clarity.
Many times. You
Yes.
saw it, correct?
Yes.
And she pretty much wouldn't answer you, correct?
She was non-committal, I would say.
Which is why you were saying in your texts, why won't you answer the question? And she would parry and not answer that one either, correct?
Well, I didn't want to be stuck in the middle of anything.
That's not my question. I'm asking you whether or not she would answer your question about clarity specifically.
She avoided questions about text.
Right. And that was frustrating because you were very interested in her romantically at that point, correct?
I was attracted to her. I don't know that I would say very interested in her.
You texted things like,
That doesn't make any sense. If you're attracted to someone, you're very interested in them. You want to get closer to them. You want to have conversations. You want to have a sexual relationship with them.
why did you get my number and reach out? That's a quote from the text we just read, correct?
I did ask that, yes.
You said, now what? Is that right?
Yes.
You texted, so now what, correct?
Yes.
You texted, I would hang out, meaning with you,
Yes.
correct? You were showing interest in her.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're showing romantic interest in her.
I wouldn't say it was romantic. I was trying to vet it out.
This guy is a liar. This dude's a liar. You're trying to get in her pants, dude. Just say it. Like, it's okay. But you're going to try to distance yourself now because of everything that happened, potentially something that you're involved in. So you're going to distance this and say, oh, no, it wasn't really romance. Dude, if it wasn't romance, why did you keep asking probing questions? You kept probing for information. And better yet, you had her phone number after all of things went down with John. If you're a cop or an ATF agent, why wouldn't you keep engaging her to see if you could get information out of her? Because you know that she didn't do anything. So you didn't come back and keep probing and asking questions. I mean, essentially, you're a cop. Isn't that what cops do? Try to get information? You had her number. You're going to keep reaching out, saying what happened. What's your call of the events that night? But no. So that, to me, seems a little weird as well, too. And then why would you destroy your phone after and pull the SIM card and cut it in half?
Well, you weren't seeing if she wanted to go see a ball game with you as a buddy, right?
Not really, no.
No, you were showing romantic interest in her, weren't you?
I was trying to vet out was her interest in me legitimate. It was very
my
normal for me
God.
to have that question in my mind when
What
I didn't
is the
initiate
part
this,
about
she
it?
did. And I think it was a fair question just to try to find out.
You were
my
showing
God.
romantic interest in Karen Reed, weren't you?
I was interested, but I don't think I was at the romantic phase.
Okay.
Oh my God.
When I say romantic, well, what do you mean by romantic? What's the romantic phase?
Sending somebody flowers?
Dating?
Well,
Having
there's a
sex?
difference between dating and hanging out. I mean,
Oh.
it's kind of hard to date somebody when you have a boyfriend.
Mr. Higgins, well, not if both people are dating other people, right?
Right.
Happens all the time, doesn't it?
Well, I think I asked that question too.
Right. That's not my question. My question is, you seem to have a problem admitting that you had a romantic interest in my client. Is there a reason for that?
I was attracted to her.
Right.
beta
Physically
male.
attracted.
I thought she was an attractive woman.
Romantically attracted.
I'm not going to go there. No, I don't agree with that.
Of course you're not going to go there because that would
Guy's a super beta male. Super beta male. Beta.
put you in a very awkward position, wouldn't it, sir?
Objection.
Not at all.
So the objection sustained is to the form. You can ask it differently, and that answer will be stricken now.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. May I?
Yes.
You were sexually attracted to her.
I was
Exactly,
physically attracted to her, yes.
Okay? Sexually attracted to her is my question.
Well, I think in the text I said you're hot.
Okay. So my question again, Mr. Higgins, you seem to not want to answer my question.
You're so hot. You're so hot. You're hot. My God. I wonder what we're gonna do in science class. I don't know. She's so hot. She's hot. I don't know what we're gonna get for English homework today. She's hot.
My question is, were you or were you not sexually attracted to my client?
Beta.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna say something. I don't think Higgins is lucky with the ladies. The guy has no game.
You were saying things like,
I was probing the conversation to find things out. I just wanted to know what her actual interest was in me. I'm gonna send her some flowers. She's hot.
what do you want from me? And I want the real deal. Those are your words, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. The real deal. Seal it. Yeah, the real deal.
And the real deal with you would be to date her, to get involved with her romantically, correct?
No.
The real deal was what? What did you mean by I want the real deal?
Like a relationship.
What kind of relationship? A buddy-buddy relationship? You just want to go like
The same thing everybody wants, a real relationship.
a romantic relationship?
Real. Yeah. He's gonna go, well, I don't know if it's romantic. He reminds me of what is it? Not Christmas, the first vacation movie when they go all the way out to Wally World. And who is it? John Candy. Sorry, folks, the park's closed. The moose said it. The moose should have told you outside. Sorry, folks, the park's closed. He's gonna go. Watch. Ready?
Mr. Higgins?
It's possible.
Well, I mean, yeah, could have been. I just wanted to be friends.
Right. And she was answering with things like, when you said, now what? She answered, I don't know. correct?
Yes, she did.
When you asked, so now what? She answered, I'm sorry, when you said, so now what? She answered, now what?
Yeah,
Correct?
she's telling
Well,
you,
I don't have it
dude.
in front of me, so
She wants to get it on. Like, what's beta? You can't pick up that scent, dude.
I can't agree with you. If I'd like to see what you're referring to.
Well, you just read it about 10 minutes ago. Would you quarrel if
I know, but you're giving me portions of it.
you were given portions of it by Mr. Lally as well,
Okay.
right? Did you text something like, now what? And she responded something like, now what?
I think on one occasion she did. Yes.
Okay.
Now what?
And you remember you just read a text where she texted, I'm sorry, you texted, what do you want from me? And her responsive text was, I don't know. Correct?
I think that was one of the texts.
Again, with this theme of her being non-committal, one way or the other. Is that right?
Well, that's not how I would interpret it as a theme. No,
Well, didn't you just say she was non-committal? That was your word, not mine.
I did. But as I told you, it's been a process of trying to suss it out and see what this was all about.
Right. So when you were sussing it,
Oh, he just said I'm sussing it out. Oh my God. I feel like I'm in high school right now. Oh my God. How's sussing it out? I just wanted to find out where she was at. Oh my God. Beta.
out and determining whether or not you were going to advance this romantic interest, she was sort of non-committal, wasn't she?
Well, not one person advances it. I think that's a joint thing.
Oh
When you
my God.
texted,
This is cringy.
you want the real deal, she responded, it doesn't exist, didn't she?
She did. Yes.
And she never once in any of those texts expressed anger or hatred toward John Hickey, correct?
No, not at all.
But in fact,
Yeah.
she texted more, she indicated more of frustration with the immediate family. The kids, she didn't want to have kids.
In its totality, I would say yes.
And then on January 23rd, as you just saw, she just stopped communicating with you altogether, correct?
Until the 29th. Yes.
Correct.
So good. Karen, do you like me or like me? Oh, I wonder if she likes me. I don't know. Maybe she just likes me. Maybe she likes me. I don't know. Who do you think it is? Suss it out. Beta.
Do you know what the term ghosted means?
I think I have a general idea. Yes.
She sort of ghosted you, didn't she?
I wouldn't agree with that.
So should I just check yes or no? I don't know. It's pretty cringy. I have to say, it is pretty cringy.
That was frustrating to you that she just stopped communicating, wasn't it?
No, not at all.
You've been moving through this mindset of exploring a romantic interest with a beautiful woman, thought was interested in you, just like that. It was done, right?
Yep.
No.
So what communication did you have with her after
Liar.
January 23rd?
Well, she texted me on January 29th.
You keep saying that, but you know what I'm getting to. January 29th was her informing you that a tragedy had occurred. Don had died, right? I'm not talking about that, Mr. Higgins, so I don't want to keep playing games.
All right, so that's what we talked about. No more of
Sorry.
that.
After the 23rd, or up to the 23rd, she had been texting back and forth with you pretty regularly. You just saw it, correct?
She also sent me a text with arrows saying the phone works both ways.
And as of the 23rd, she stopped, didn't she?
The texts were sporadic over those 9 days. I don't know if they would have stopped or they would have kept going.
Well, they didn't keep going, did they?
folks.
Well, John passed away.
You know they didn't keep going because from the 23rd onto the 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, all the way to the 29th, she never texted you, right?
I believe so.
She didn't respond to any of your texts, correct?
Well, she didn't respond to the text on the 28th Friday.
All right, why don't we take our lunch and recess, folks?
All right,
What I'm
probably
going to ask the jury to do
lunch.
is, can we do a 45-minute lunch instead of an hour's lunch today? And also, you don't have to answer me now, but maybe.
Here we go.
Or with Mr. Reed, I'm sorry, with Mr. Albert, and your interest in Karen Reed never came up.
No.
Even though he's a good friend.
Yes, just something I wouldn't talk about.
You've been drinking since about what time? What time? That's a bad way to ask it. What time did you start drinking?
When are we at, Mr.
I'm sorry, on the 28th, when you got back from New York. When did you start drinking?
Well, it wasn't until I swapped out vehicles and I went up to the hillside.
Okay. That would have been, give me a time frame. 9-ish, 8-ish?
It was dark. It was maybe in the area of 8 o'clock.
And what time do you think you got to Waterfall?
I couldn't say. It was after the hillside.
Before Brian Albert left Hillside, did he tell you that John O'Keefe had been invited over to meet them at the Waterfall?
No.
That's bullshit. I'm going to say that's bullshit. I think Brian Higgins did tell him that. And that's why he ran over to the Waterfall. And that's why when he got in there and Karen and John was there and Karen ignored him, he did the, well, that's what I think.
Is there any particular reason why you changed your mind and left the Hillside to go
He went running over
to the
there.
Waterfall?
Well, I think, as I previously testified, that it was because I didn't always take them up on their offer, and I usually did the Irish exit, and I decided because of the weather and everything else, and it had been a long day, that I would go down there and join them.
Didn't have anything to do with you knowing that Karen Reed might be at the Waterfall.
It couldn't have, because I didn't know she or John O'Keefe would even be there.
Bullshit.
I didn't know who was going to be there other than Brian's wife.
Do you have any text messages with Brian about going to the Waterfall?
I don't recall. He told me about it at the hillside.
And once he got to the Waterfall obviously before you did.
He did, I think, shortly before, yes.
Any text communications between you and Brian Albert about who was at the Waterfall or who was expected to come to the Waterfall?
No, not that I recall.
Now, you've already indicated, and I don't think we need to go into a lot of detail about this, but I want to ask you just in general, the mood at the Waterfall was good spirits, correct?
It was great. Band was playing.
You did not see any sort of tension between John and Karen?
I did not.
Nobody seemed overly intoxicated?
No.
You had several drinks before you even got to the Waterfall, right?
I think it was 3 to 4.
Did you drink additionally at the Waterfall?
I did, yes.
Did you drink whiskey or beer or what?
Whiskey.
Okay. How many do you think you had?
I couldn't put a number on it. At least a couple.
And ultimately, you left from there in your personal vehicle and drove over to, that's the Jeep, drove
The Jeep,
over to the
yes.
Waterfall, correct?
I drove over to the waterfall.
I'm sorry,
I was at the
left
waterfall.
the Waterfall, drove over to 34 Fairview.
I did, yes.
When John walked in to the Waterfall, were you already there?
Yes.
He greeted you, you indicated, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Karen walked in with him,
Yes.
but she did not greet you, did she?
I think they kind of went like that in different directions.
Right.
Yes.
Did she greet you?
No.
Right. So she walked over toward the corner of the bar,
Ghosted you, bro.
and John came over and greeted you, and then walked over and joined her, correct?
Yes.
Karen didn't stop what she was doing when
Real quick, I'm just pull this up because there's some conversation about it. I wonder if Higgins and Albert kissing in front of John was to taunt him for the kiss Karen gave Higgins that John caught on camera. Do I have anything wrong? It's a very interesting point. Very, very interesting point. Could be.
she was over in the corner of the bar and come over and say hi to you.
I didn't have any interaction with her that night, no.
So it's safe to say that throughout that evening, once she was sidled up next to John O'Keefe or the friends that she was with, she never turned back around and came over and even acknowledged you, correct?
That's correct.
So she
You know
basically,
what, Owet? I thought that too on an earlier stream. That's why he selected text messages, and that's why he destroyed his phone. I guarantee you they could have been texting on another app or something like that. Or there was other text messages in the stream or something to that effect. And I guarantee you that there's some text messages that were going back and forth like, oh, you should leave him. I can do better. I guarantee you. I guarantee you. I felt that too. And I'm glad that you said that. Yeah. I'm glad that you said that because I felt that at some point too.
ignored you the entire evening.
That's not how I interpret it, no.
I didn't ask you how you interpreted it. I asked you what she did. Did she ignore you or did she pay attention to you?
Objection.
You can go ahead and answer that. Did she ignore you?
No.
So she paid attention to you. Came over and said hello, shook your hand,
Nope.
gave you a hug.
Well, just because somebody didn't come over doesn't mean they ignored you.
Did she do those three things?
Hug? What was the other
Did she
thing?
say hello, shake your hand, give you a hug?
No, she did not.
No, she didn't do any of those things, did she?
No.
It's like you didn't even exist.
I think that's dramatic. No, I don't look at it that way.
Did she ignore you or not?
No, she did not ignore me.
So what did she do to not ignore you?
She was
What's her
work.
interaction with you?
Can I answer now?
Sure.
She, in my opinion, she was working the room, talking to people, saying hello, catching up.
Right. The one person she didn't come over to talk to and say hello to and catch up with
Was you?
is you.
Well, I don't know that I was the only person, but I was one of the people that she didn't say hello to. Yes.
Treated you sort of like a stranger.
I don't feel that way. No.
she actually positioned herself away from you at the other end of the table on the opposite side in the corner. Isn't that right?
I don't know where she was all night. No,
Did
I
that
don't know.
upset you that she ignored you or didn't pay attention to you?
I did not feel ignored and didn't upset me at all.
But it bothered you enough to send her a text, didn't it?
No, it was a flirtatious text. It was just, that was it.
It bothered you enough to send her a text that said,
Well,
with 6 M's behind it,
Okay.
and well, correct?
Well, it wasn't like that. It was, well, that's it.
Just well, like a well in the ground.
I think you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think you do too, sir. You meant, well, when are you gonna pay attention to me?
No, that's not correct.
Well,
Yep.
why are you ignoring me?
It's not correct.
Right.
Well, am I chopped liver?
Objection.
All right, that's sustained. Mr. Jackson, let's move on.
At the end of the night,
it's got to be pretty embarrassing of him sitting in front of Karen, knowing that she ghosted the shit out of him. He has to sit there.
group basically discussed going back to Brian Albert's house. Is that right?
It was discussion at the table of like, were we going to go to the pizza shop or were we going to go somewhere else? And ultimately it was 34 Fairview.
Before you left, just so we're clear, when you texted, well, she ignored that text too, didn't she?
Can you say that again?
When you texted her, well, at Waterfall, she ignored that text too, correct?
Well, that was the only text I sent that night to her. Yes.
Okay.
She didn't respond.
That wasn't my question.
And Jackson
What-
threw
what
his
The question
fault
is she
in
ignored
it
the
too.
text, correct?
Well, I don't know if I don't know what her mindset was. If she purposely ignored the text or she didn't see it, I don't know. I didn't read into it.
Did she ignore the text, Mr. Higgins?
I don't know.
Did she respond to the text?
She did not respond.
Got it.
Right.
So when everybody was leaving, did you leave before they did, John and Karen, or did they leave before you did?
I don't know.
You said you were the first one back to Brian Albert's house, correct?
Yes.
Safe to say you were one of the first ones to leave.
I was the first one to leave
Waterfall.
the waterfall. Probably.
I mean, if you're if everybody's hurting out and you're the first one to get there, you're probably among the first to leave, correct?
Most likely.
Okay. You never personally discussed going to 34 Fairview with, certainly not with Karen Reed, did you?
No.
And you never discussed it with John O'Keefe either, did you?
No.
You didn't say goodbye or walk over and give John a big hug or anything like that?
No.
Acknowledgement, did you?
No.
You just left.
That's what everybody was doing, just leaving.
Okay. You too, correct?
I did leave, yes.
And all you knew that at that point, all you knew was that you were going over to 34 Fairview. You did not know who else was invited over to 34 Fairview.
My impression was that it was an open invitation and I planned on heading over there.
But you did not know who else was coming.
I had no idea who was coming.
And you didn't say goodbye to John, correct?
I don't think I said goodbye to anybody.
And you didn't talk to him about coming over to
Did the
34
Irish
Fairview.
exit.
No.
Yet at 2:20 in the morning, you texted John O'Keefe, you coming here, correct?
At 2:20,
Sorry, 12:20.
I did.
And that had 3 question marks behind it, correct?
Yes.
Did you text Karen about coming over to 34
Right.
Fairview?
No.
Why not?
So at 12:20 a.m., after you left the Waterfall and made your way over to 34 Fairview, you were more interested in getting John to come to 34 Fairview.
Bro, that's a great point. I think this is the first case in history where screenshots are indisputable evidence, but Celebrite extractions are wrong. Right. Miss Jen McCabe. Right. No, I didn't do that. But the screenshots, those are hard evidence. Yep, that's hard evidence. That's a great point. I love that.
Than you were to getting Karen to come to 34 Fairview.
No, that's not how I would describe that.
But you didn't text Karen, correct?
No, I didn't.
But you did text John.
Yes.
Why?
You've indicated that you took your Jeep, your personal vehicle with a plow on it, over to 34 Fairview, correct?
Yes.
And you were among the first to arrive because you were doing that thing with the sort of playing around by plowing his driveway.
It was a sweep of the driveway. Yes.
And then you indicated that you parked in front of the house, correct?
I did.
I know you've been over this before, but I'm going to ask you one final time so that it's completely clear. Exactly where was your Jeep in front of that house?
By the mailbox.
Okay. Can we have, with the court's permission, exhibit 66?
Okay.
This is a graphic representation of 34 Fairview, not a photograph. Just to orient you, do you see what's depicted in exhibit 66?
Yes,
Do you recognize it?
I do.
You see the mailbox, which is about right there.
Yes.
Okay. Where was your Jeep in relation to that mailbox?
So the back end of the Jeep, the rear, would have been about around equal with the mailbox, and I was not blocking the driveway.
Okay, so you would have been about there, correct? If the right edge of that highlight is the mailbox being right there, you've been about right there on the street, correct?
Well, that would have been the front of the Jeep. Where your laser pointer is, it would be the front,
Okay, so the front of the Jeep was facing the flagpole,
towards Chapman Street, correct.
and the rear of the Jeep was basically even with the mailbox strut or stanchion.
It was definitely past the driveway, yes.
Okay. You indicated the plow was a 6 foot, what inch plow?
I think it was a 6'8", 6
8,
foot,
meaning the width.
meaning the width, yes.
How deep is that plow?
How deep? Like,
2 feet, 3 feet, 6 inches?
I mean, it's probably a few inches.
Okay,
It's light duty. It's on a Jeep.
okay. And it's obviously curved and
Curved.
canted to the right?
No, it wasn't canted at all. It was straight down.
Okay, so it's not like, I guess I'm picturing in my mind, I don't know that I've ever seen one, that the front of the Jeep is not parallel to the plow. In other words, it would plow stuff off to the right. Is that not right?
I'm not understanding what you're trying to communicate to me.
How is the plow positioned as it relates to the front end of the Jeep? Is it perfectly parallel to the front end, or is it canted one way or another?
So when you're driving straight locally, where you're not going to have to worry about overheating the Jeep, I would just have the Jeep plow straight. If I was on the highway for a long distance, I'd be worried about overheating. So I would canter the plow, tilt it up so that air could get through the front grille.
So in other words, you can control it.
I can, yes.
How was it that night?
So
How was it canted that night? Was it straight or canted?
it was straight and straight on.
All right. When you walked into 34 Fairview, you indicated that there were people congregated basically in the kitchen area, correct?
There were some people in the kitchen area, yes.
How many people were at the high top table that you described?
Initially, when I walked in, I believe there was Brian Jr., and he was flanked by one, possibly two females.
And you indicated that basically you were positioned in that area with your back to the door for most of the evening.
I was like I would describe this diagonally across from him and had my back to the door that I had come in, which would be the breezeway door.
But at some point, you had moved out of that kitchen area with Brian Albert, correct?
Well, I briefly went and looked at some photos.
Right. So you moved out of that area with Brian Albert alone to go to a different room.
Yes, and I think his wife, Nicole, might have popped in the room for a second, but it was brief.
Did you have anything to drink while you were at 34 Fairview?
Well, when I got there, they didn't have any whiskey. I believe they might have put a beer or something else in front of me. And, I knew it was going to be a short night there because I just wasn't going to, I'm not a beer drinker.
You've indicated in a prior testimony that you've never been upstairs in Brian's house, correct?
This is interesting.
Would you say upstairs, like you're talking like second floor?
Correct.
Brian Albert said that they did go upstairs and they looked at photos for a couple minutes. Remember? This is interesting.
Yes. No.
Okay. You testified to that in a prior hearing. Is that right?
Yes.
In May of 2023.
Yes.
And you said specifically, quote, "I've never been upstairs." Is that
Yes.
right? All right. You understood when you gave that statement that you were under oath.
Yes.
You were telling the truth.
Yes.
Same oath that you took here today, correct?
Yes.
You indicated that the photos that you saw were on the first floor living room area. Is that right?
I believe that's where they were. Yes.
So the only floor downstairs from the first floor would be what?
The basement.
And the only floor upstairs from the basement would be what?
The first floor.
Floor.
So if someone were to describe going upstairs to look at the photos that you've described
Bedroom.
on the first floor, where would they have to be to go upstairs to look at those photos?
Are you saying on the first floor?
Correct. If the photos are on the first floor,
Yeah.
and someone said, we went upstairs to look at those photos, where would they have to be?
I guess upstairs.
The people would have to be upstairs?
Well, the photos would be upstairs. Is that what you're saying?
Where are the people? Where would the people have to be to go upstairs to the living room to look at the photos?
I'm not understanding the question.
If the photos are on the first floor, Mr. Higgins,
Yes.
the only floor beneath.
Gina, thank you so much for the 5. We will kick back 25% of your donation to Karen Reed's Defense Fund. Gina, so the 5, so thanks for coverage and insight, LTL Media. Yeah, I'm kind of playing it quiet tonight. I'm a little tired. I worked a lot this weekend, but I appreciate y'all going over the testimony with me tonight. I like to review these and react. I'm gonna admit, I'm a little tired tonight. I am a little tired, a little off my game. We got 25 so far. Let's see, 25%. It's like $6. We can do a little better than that. All right, let's keep playing through this.
It is a basement.
Okay.
And someone says, we went upstairs to look at the photos, where would they have to be?
Well, who said they went upstairs?
All right, so Mr. Jackson, you can save this for
Matter.
argument. Next question, please.
Yeah, that's exactly.
If Brian Albert said you went upstairs to look at the photos, where would you have to be?
Objection.
Now, Brian Albert had a weight room someplace in the house, right?
Yes.
And a gym.
I guess he called it a home gym
Where was that?
in the basement.
Had you ever been down to that basement before?
Yes, one time.
When was that?
That was during the twins' graduation party. Summertime.
Summertime before,
Summertime before. Yes.
summer of 2021?
Maybe.
So if Brian Albert testified
Or
that
could
you've
it-
never been in the basement, that would not be accurate.
Objection.
Sustained.
Now, you do recall giving testimony at another proceeding on June 1st, 2023, correct?
Yes.
And of course, the same thing applied. You were under oath. Is that right?
Yes.
You knew that it was a crime to lie under oath
Yes.
in that proceeding. During the course of that proceeding, you were asked who was in the house and who you saw come into the house, correct?
Yes.
And during the course of that testimony, you admitted that you observed a tall, dark-haired male enter the Albert house that night, correct?
I believe that was in reference to ask it to somebody's brother in a pickup.
Oh.
I don't know if that was during.
All I'm asking you, Mr. Higgins, is did you say that? Did you say a tall, dark-haired male entered the house while you were there?
I said they might have.
Did you say they might have?
Yes. And that was in reference to
You may have
somebody's
just a moment,
brother.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Isn't it true that you indicated that a male showed up who may have been Julie Nagel's brother, correct?
I said might have. Yes.
Right. But there was no question in your mind that a male did in fact show up, and you described him as tall and dark-haired, right?
Yes.
You were asked, a male showed up where? And you answered, quote, showed up at the house that I didn't know. I think he was there very briefly. I was half paying attention to it.
Well, wine cellar infused. Thank you for becoming a new YouTube member. Let's add 5 to the total. I do appreciate it. We'll take 25% of that and kick it back to Karen Reed's Defense Fund. I'd like to get to at least $50 kicked back to Karen tonight. We'll see what we can do. All right, let's keep playing.
Question, did that male come inside the house?
Excuse me.
Answer, I believe he did. Do you remember that?
Yes.
So a male did come in the house that night, correct?
No, I said I believe he did. I wasn't sure.
Well, when you testified at the prior hearing, you were asked, so you saw someone else come? Question. Answer, somebody else. Yes. End quote. That's what you testified to under oath, wasn't it?
Is that in reference to that?
What page are you on, Mr. Jackson?
Page 485, 486, I believe. Yes. If I may, approach.
Yes.
Thank you.
Look at the top part that I highlighted.
Yeah, let's speed this up a little bit.
Mr. Higgins, do you have that in mind?
I do.
May I approach?
Yes.
You were asked the question, quote, did that male come inside the house? You answered, I believe he did. Question, so you saw someone else come? Answer, somebody else. Yes, correct?
Yes, but I also said that I wasn't paying
Mr. Higgins,
attention.
I realize that you want to explain your answer. I've asked you a very simple question. Was that your testimony in front of another proceeding?
Yes, it was.
At another proceeding, which you were under oath?
Yes, it was.
Okay. You also
So he's trying to say that it's who is it? He's trying to say Nagel's brother's friend. Who is Nagel's brother's friend? The guy with the truck. He's trying to say it's him. But this potentially could be John O'Keefe coming in the house. And if he wasn't paying attention, or he's just saying that it was John O'Keefe and knowing what happened, he's trying to distance himself.
said that you only remember
Ricky,
seeing that
thank
person
you.
come in briefly. And it looked like he was having a conversation with the two girls.
That's what
Briefly,
he's trying to say.
correct?
Yes.
But this potentially
You were
could be
asked how
John
long was the
O'Keefe.
person in there roughly, and you said it was quick. Less than a couple of minutes. I mean, it was quick, correct?
Yes.
And then you were asked what he looked like, and you said,
Wow, Gina, thank you so much. A $100 super chat. Thank you so much, Gina. 25% of your donation will get kicked back to Karen Reed. Wow, that was a big super chat. Thank you, Gina. I do appreciate that. And I think we're at like 130 right now. Where are we at, Rogue? We at 130? 130 total at the moment. 25% of that will get kicked back. So we're at $32, which is awesome. I'd love to reach $50 tonight for Karen to kick that back to her. So thank you, Gina. That was very, very kind to you. Thank you so much. Wow. Thank you so much. All right. We'll keep playing on.
I feel like they were a little bit taller. They had dark hair, correct?
Yes.
So you testified that a tall, dark-haired male came into the house, at least briefly, in your testimony, correct?
Yes.
Approximately when in the timeline of events did that unidentified male enter the residence?
I don't know the time frame. It would have been while I was there.
When you gave your statement to the Massachusetts State Police, you didn't tell them about a tall, dark-haired male coming into the residence at 34 Fairview, did you, on February 3rd?
I don't recall.
You were specifically asked by ADA Lally when you testified.
Good point, Sweet. Sweet says Higgins said that there was 22 seconds of a phone call that he answered, but there was no conversation. So he was listening to Brian Albert being intimate with his wife. And it was funny. It was me and Kurt from Uncivil Law. We were talking about this. I mean, there's a lot of conversation that can happen in 22 seconds. I mean, here, let's just do this. Jackson wasn't allowed to time it out the other day, but let's just see how long 22 seconds actually is. All right, ready? And I'm going to go silent for the 22 seconds. You know what I'll do? I'm going to go silent for 22 seconds, and then I'm going to play 22 seconds of testimony so you can see how long a conversation can be. All right, let's do silence first. Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right, that's 22 seconds of just silence. Now, let's play just 22 seconds of testimony and see what that is. All right? 1, 2, 3.
Before the state court grand jury on April 28th, 2022. Who else was present, correct?
Yes.
And you never mentioned a tall, dark-haired male coming into the house, did you?
No.
However, on June 1st, 2023, at this other proceeding, you were specifically instructed at the start of your testimony that it was a crime to give materially false statements in that proceeding, correct?
That's 22
Yes.
seconds of conversation.
that-
That's a lot of information. I mean, Jackson, I think, asked him, probably 3 questions in all of that? That's a lot of information that could be said. Okay, let's keep playing through.
That's the proceeding in which you admitted that there was a tall, dark-haired male who came in the house.
I
Yes
said
or
I-
no? Yes or no? It was
Okay.
that proceeding.
Can you answer that, yes or no?
No, I can't, Your Honor.
Next question, Mr. Jackson.
The quotations or the quotes that I just read you and that you just looked at,
Yes.
that was from the June 1, 2023 hearing, wasn't it?
I don't know.
Mary. That's great. That's a good one, Mary. Excuse me. My allergies have been
May I approach now?
killing me.
That's what was just read, and that's another page. Just take a look at that page and see if you see a date on the first page.
I see it, yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
What's the date, sir?
June 1st?
2023?
Yes.
How long did you stay at the Albert residence in total? From the time you got there till the time you left?
Maybe like a half hour, less than an hour.
And what time did you leave? Say 12:30, you said?
I think I said between 12:30 and 1
Okay.
a.m.
And you indicated that you pretty much didn't say goodbye to anybody, right?
At the house,
Correct.
I just kind of left. I said, see you later. Turn around, left.
As a matter of fact, at that same hearing that we just looked at, your statement was, I made a beeline out of there, correct?
I don't know if that's the verbiage I used, but I left
Why the rush? Why did you leave so quick?
Yeah.
because it was a long day and I just wanted to go home.
Except you didn't go home, did you?
No, I went back to Canton PD.
Right.
Hi.
So it wasn't such a long day that you actually drove home. You went back to the Canton Police Department at 1 or 1:30 in the morning, correct?
To move vehicles, correct.
Well, let's talk about you leaving. You walked out the side breezeway door, correct?
Yes,
You walked down the driveway.
yes.
There's nothing obstructing your view at that point of the lawn to your right, correct?
I didn't look over there, but I would not think so.
Between you and the flagpole, in other words, there wasn't some mound of dirt, something obstructing your view. You could see straight across if you wanted to, correct?
So if anybody's wondering what an Irish exit is, here's the definition of it. In common, an Irish exit or Irish goodbye refers to someone leaving a social gathering without notifying the host. An Irish exit is another name for slipping out the back or front door seemingly unnoticed by the host. National etiquette expert Diane Gottsmith tells today.com. That's what an Irish exit is.
If I wanted to, yes.
It's just basically a flat, grassy lawn with a light dusting of white powder snow on it, right?
I don't know how much snow was, but there was snow there.
Yeah, you indicated that it wasn't even enough to stick to the pavement at that point.
Well, that's when I got there. Yes,
Well, you only stayed less than an hour, right?
that's correct.
So I'm assuming it didn't dump 3 feet in an hour, correct?
I think we can both agree that it's not free. It wouldn't have been 3 feet now.
Right. So it would have been a light dusting of snow.
More snow than there was there.
Sorry.
How far would you say it was from the edge of the driveway over to your Jeep?
From where the back of my Jeep was parked,
Correct.
maybe a foot or two, or it could have been even with the edge of the driveway.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's probably a bad question on my part. When you left the house, as you started to walk down the driveway toward your Jeep, how long of a walk is that? Across the yard to down the driveway to get to your Jeep?
Short,
30 feet?
maybe.
Okay. During the
not
course of you
sure,
walking out the
Virginia.
door, heading to your Jeep, you didn't see anything out
I
of
heard
your...
conflicting views. There's been some reports of witnesses that are going to be called. It's all clearly speculation, but I heard some conflicting reports today that he could be called or he might not be called, but I definitely know he would be called in Brian Higgins' trial. All right, let's keep playing.
the ordinary in the yard, correct?
No,
You certainly didn't see a body in the yard.
of course not.
Now, you get in your car and it's facing directly toward the flagpole, correct?
It's facing directly up the street. The flagpole would be off to the 1 o'clock.
Right. So just a few degrees off to the right, the flagpole is, correct?
It's off to the right.
Just a few degrees.
I don't know how many degrees, but it's off to the right.
Well, you just said 1 o'clock. You're
Yes.
a former military guy, right?
I am.
Okay. 1 o'clock means 1 o'clock on watch. 12 o'clock is due north or right in front of you. 1 o'clock is just a few degrees to the right, correct? That's what you meant.
At the 1 o'clock, yes.
So you didn't see a body when you got in your Jeep.
No, I did not.
Then you turned the engine on, correct?
And the wipers, yes.
And the lights.
Yes.
And the lights lit up everything in front of you, correct?
Yes.
Still didn't see a body, did you?
No, I did not.
Sitting in the driver's seat, you put the car in gear.
Oh, Wit, 1999er. We'll round it up to 20. Thank you so much for your super duper duper chat. I love the orange. The orange is nice. The red is awesome. I love when red comes through. I love the orange. I like those warm, earthy tones. Says he didn't want to leave because there wasn't whiskey He left because there was no Kate. There was no incentive to stay. Absolutely. No incentive to stay. I think you meant maybe no Karen. Yeah, maybe no Karen. We're at 150 total. So we're going to kick back 25% of that back to Karen Reed's defense fund. We're at 37.50. We'll round it to 38. If we get to 50 tonight for Karen, that would be great. All right. Yeah, I got you. I know what you meant. Yeah, Karen. All right, let's keep playing.
And you begin to roll forward, right?
Yes.
But there was a plow on the ground that scraped for a foot, right?
Yes.
So you picked it back up,
Yes.
looked out the windshield to make sure the plow was situated, and continued to roll forward, correct?
I knew it was up when I continued to drive.
And as you continue to drive, you're looking ahead of you and probably to your left to make sure that there's no oncoming cars, right?
Well, I knew there was no oncoming cars. I was just driving forward
Right. So your focus is directly in front of you,
on the road. Yes.
and everything in your peripheral vision is right in front of you as well, correct?
Yes.
Nothing obstructing your view.
I mean, other than snow on the car.
Nothing obstructing your view outside toward the lawn. Wasn't another car parked there.
No, I didn't. There was no vehicles in front of me. No,
It was the roadway was relatively empty,
there was no cars.
and you didn't see a body then either, did you?
I did not.
And as you drive past that flagpole with everything lit up and everything in your peripheral vision, you still didn't see a body on that lawn, did you?
I did not.
You're a former firefighter, is that right?
Yes.
Did that put you in a position of being a first responder?
You realize all these witnesses that we've talked about, all these witnesses have talked. What is the one thing that they have said? At that specific time that Jackson's trying to nail down, the specific time that John O'Keefe should have been in that yard after Karen Reed supposedly hit him, what has everybody said? They haven't seen a body. There was no body there at that time. I didn't see a body. AKA Cat Lady chimes in with a $10 super chat. Today is my birthday. Well, AKA happy birthday. My wish is Karen goes free and those responsible are found and convicted. I think we're getting close. I think we're getting close, Kat. I do. And thank you so much for the super chat. We'll kick back 25% to Karen Reed's defense fund. All right, let's keep playing.
Yes.
And you're currently a law enforcement officer.
Yes.
That puts you in the position of being a first responder, correct?
I'm also a tactical medic. Yes.
Which means that you have training to be an observer. You're a trained observer, more than the average person, correct?
Yes.
You look for things out of the ordinary. You look for things that don't belong. As an investigator, former firefighter, first responder, correct?
Yes.
And you did not see a 217-pound man bleeding out on the side of the road in the lawn or in the yard, just to your right by that flagpole, correct?
If I did,
I didn't
I
ask
would
you
have
if
done
you
something
did.
to help him.
I asked you if you saw one.
No, I did not.
And that's because there was no body there, correct?
I didn't see anything.
Because if there was a body there, you certainly would have seen that.
Objection.
Where exactly did you go when you left 34 Fairview?
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, we all know this is a frivolous BS case. I keep saying it. I just keep saying, like, when is the Commonwealth going to show me something here that's going to prove? I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen a video. I haven't seen a photo. I haven't seen anything in a text message yet that I want John dead. I hate him. I'm going to kill him. I haven't heard one witness say that she said, I'm going to kill him. All we heard is the bullshit testimony from Jen McCabe. I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. And that statement changed 5 million times until she got in court and then went with this, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. I haven't seen anything. Have you? I mean, maybe I'm missing something here. Maybe the people that think that Karen Reed is absolutely 1000% guilty can shed some light on this. I don't know. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the case against Karen Reed. I haven't seen it.
I went back to the Canton police station.
When you were asked that on direct examination, you said you weren't sure where you went when you left 34 Fairview, either home or to Canton PD.
No, that's not what I testified to.
Did something jog your memory
That
about
is-
where you went?
That is not what I testified to. That was in relation to where did I go after I left 34 Fairview the next morning?
Why did you go to Canton Police Department that morning?
What's the question?
Why did you go to Canton Police Department that morning?
The morning when I left
Come
34
on, let's not
Fairview
play
the Friday
dumb.
into Saturday
Correct.
to move 2 vehicles.
There's been quite an evolution of that story over the years, has there not?
I don't understand the question.
All right, let's talk about that for a second. You had an initial interview with Massachusetts State Police on February 3rd, 2022,
Yes.
correct? And you indicated during the course of that interview, which was just a couple of days, 5 days after the events in question, that you left Brian Albert's house, went to Canton PD to, quote, fulfill some administrative obligations, end quote, correct? You later said, when you testified in front of the grand jury on April 28th, that you went to Canton PD to do, quote, administrative work, correct?
Yes.
You never mentioned,
I said administrative things.
you said administrative work was your testimony in your transcript.
I believe it was things, but okay.
Okay. Can we agree, Mr. Higgins, that you didn't mention anything about moving cars around, correct?
Well, that would be administrative.
So when you say I went to Canton PD to do administrative work or administrative obligations, you meant moving your car, your personal vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. Although you didn't say that you were going there to move your personal vehicle, right?
No, I said I didn't move my personal vehicle. I moved work vehicles.
Or either one. You just traded off vehicles, moved them out of the way, right?
I moved the purpose for going back there was to move 2 work vehicles.
And the reality is you had gotten Canton PD earlier in the afternoon and actually moved some other vehicles, traded vehicles, didn't you?
I swapped vehicles out. That's correct.
Right. And you left the vehicles that you now claim you had to go move exactly where they were, even though you knew a blizzard was coming, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
So you didn't move the cars a few hours earlier, knowing that you just have to come back and move those cars a few hours later,
I was
right?
more concerned to go eat and have a drink because it had been a long day.
So wouldn't you want to move those cars early on so you wouldn't have to go all the way back?
Most people love their booze, don't they? I gotta go get a drink. I need a drink. I need a drink. They're all drinking and driving all the time, and a lot of underage drinking too. I need a drink. I gotta get a drink. Everybody's drinking. Jesus.
Canton play, parking lot with these cars in the middle of the night?
Not really.
Mr. Higgins, you weren't actually at Canton PD to do administrative work at 1:30 in the morning, were you?
I was moving the vehicles. I'm sure it's on video.
Oh, we'll talk about the video in just a second. You entered the Canton Police Station through which door?
I believe it was the door to the right of the Sally Port as you come in the main entrance.
And you made note of who was on duty that night, correct?
I didn't make note. I walked by, I saw somebody sitting in the control room and then just went about my business.
So you immediately knew that your friend, Officer Good, was working dispatch, right?
So do you need to hear something or? It's really hot over there.
Oh, I never heard that. That was the incident with the juror. I remember this the other day, and I actually finally heard it for the first time. So it looks like the juror motioned to the judge, and you can hear them on the hot mic say, "I feel sick." So it probably got really hot or something like that. And because Bev goes, "Do you need to hear something?" And she goes, "I feel sick." So that's what happened, and they're gonna break here in a minute.
So why don't we take a 5-minute recess?
Court, all rise. Put everything up.
Yeah, I remember this.
Can you just give it a message? Why it's hot over the window? Nancy, are you hot over here? You got the fan?
Oh, she's asking for a fan. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, you heard they almost passed out? Yeah. Did you hear that, Mother of Beagles? Yeah, and I everybody keeps saying there's no ACs in these courtrooms. Someone was saying, "Oh, they said they fixed it." These are old courtrooms. I don't believe, and I've been up in the bigger courtroom where all Karen's hearings were. There's no AC in there. And I was in there, and I said before when I went in that time, and actually Jen McCabe was actually sitting in front of me. I got put on the opposite side, but I remember it was like a March or an April day, and it was warm inside there. Yeah, she asked, I think someone around the desk if they were hot too. Oh, wow. She said last week the company stayed late to get the AC working. Oh, okay. I could have swore that there was no AC in that courtroom. Maybe in that one, but I think in the upper one there's no AC. It's hot. All right, let's keep playing through. I'm going to skip through this, obviously. We get the shit hitting the fan.
I'd have access.
You could see
All right,
if there was
here we
any activity going on, any calls, any call outs, things of that nature.
I didn't have access to that. And I wasn't looking for it.
Not that you were looking for it, Mr. Higgins. My question is more simple than that. If you were there, you'd know what was going on inside the building.
No.
So if you walked in, you would just be completely oblivious to anything that was happening. For instance, if troopers started amassing to go out to a call, you wouldn't see that.
Objection.
The objection sustained. Ask it differently.
If you were able to monitor, you'd be in a position to monitor what was happening at the station around 1:30 in the morning when you were over there, correct?
No.
So how long did it take you to get home from Canton PD?
A little longer from after I moved the vehicles.
Correct.
I don't know. I mean, it could have been 15 minutes. It could have been 20 minutes.
You live alone?
I do.
You did then?
Yes.
What did you do when you got home?
I think I had something to eat, maybe a couple more drinks.
Then you went to bed?
It was either on the couch or in the bed watching the news.
Be great if it was Proctor after Higgins, right? You get Proctor up there after Higgins. Oh my God.
In any of the prior testimony that you've given in this case, have you ever indicated, ever, that you slept on the couch that night?
I don't know.
Well, you reviewed your testimony before you.
Well, those would be the two. Those would be the two options.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't ask
More
you about your
drinks
options.
when
I
you got
asked you to
home.
review your
Need
testimony before you
drinks. More drinks.
testified today.
Yes.
Okay. When you reviewed your testimony previous to coming in here today, did you ever testify that you slept on the couch that night?
No, I slept in my bed, but I could have started somewhere else.
Did you ever testify in the previous hearing that you started somewhere else?
Not that I know.
Did you ever mention a couch in any of your description about what you did when you went home that night?
Not that I recall.
As a matter of fact, what you did mention under questioning in a different hearing was that you may have gotten something to eat.
Wait a minute. Mary says, think Lally said he only had 2 witnesses after Higgins, so that would be both kids. They're not going to call Proctor to the stand? You've got to be kidding me. That tells you right there, if the Commonwealth doesn't call the lead detective to testify, you've got to be kidding me. That tells you right there. That's the cover up. They're totally hiding it. But I'm going to guarantee you that the defense is going to put him on the stand if he doesn't get called by the Commonwealth. That's going to shoot your case right in the foot for the Commonwealth. The jury's going to go, why would they not put the lead investigator up and talk about this? Right? If I was a juror, I would say, why would the lead investigator that investigated this not get up and talk about the process of the investigation? Wow.
And went to bed, put your stuff on the nightstand next to your bed, correct?
That would be the routine. Yes.
You did not make or receive any calls after returning home that night.
No.
You were clear when you went to sleep in your prior testimony that you put both your work and your personal phone. You had 2 at the time, correct?
Yes.
A personal and a work cell phone, right?
Yes.
You put them both on your bedside table because that's what you do every night. Is that right?
Most often, yes.
As a matter of fact, you were asked whether or not you have a charging station, and you said, yeah, it's right on my bedside.
I don't know that I don't have a charging station.
Right, you said no, bedside. In other words, you keep your phone by your bedside, on your bedside table.
Usually.
You also testified that you did not use your phone that night to go on social media, correct?
That's correct.
You indicated that you don't go on, you didn't go on social media because you don't have social media. You don't use it that much.
I don't.
You said, I don't have the gram. I'm guessing that means Instagram, correct?
That is correct.
You don't use Snapchat and you quote, don't do those things, correct?
That's correct.
All right, so you testified that the first call you received after returning home on the 29th.
Toots, thank you. Gifted 5 memberships. 5 memberships going out. Toots. Thank you. That's $25. $25. So we'll add that to the total. And welcome, Neil. Welcome, Virginia. Welcome, Perry. Joe Bay, welcome. And Jane, welcome. All you can go to the homepage, my homepage, click all the way down to get members only content. That's all free with members only. Well, it's not free. You pay for the membership, but you get access to that. That's what I mean. And then that's a $5 membership. You'll have that for a month. And all I ask the members to do this, just one thing. When that membership ends, you don't even have to sign up for a $4.99 again. Just roll that over. I got memberships for $1.99. $1.99 goes towards this channel monthly to support me, and it gets you access to all that members only content. That's all I ask. Super easy. Less than a Starbucks or a Dunkin' Donuts coffee. I was gonna say a donut, but I don't. Does Dunkin' even have donuts anymore? They must have donuts. They took donuts out of the name. Who does that? Why would you take donuts out of the name? I go to Dunkin' Donuts for a donut because you're dunking it in the coffee. Why would you take stupid? Anyway, let's keep going.
Was a call from Chief Berkowitz just before
Talk
7
is gonna
a.m.,
get
which
shredded.
woke you up. Is that right?
AKA,
It was around 6:30.
membership. Welcome to Rookie Detective. We'll round it up to a $5, and we'll add that. Yeah. No, I just see signs that just say Dunkin'. I don't see Dunkin' Donuts anymore. I don't see Dunkin' Donuts signs anymore. I just see Dunkin'. Like, what's with that? Thank you, AK.
Ish, I think.
Thank you for
Okay.
coming. We got
The
190
testimony
total.
previously was at some
25%
point before 7
guaranteed.
a.m. That call was the one that woke you up.
Yes.
And it turns out, Mr. Higgins, that was a lie,
Right.
wasn't it?
No, it wasn't a lie.
$47.50.
When you were asked that question at a previous hearing, you didn't know that the person questioning you had your phone records, did you?
I assume they did.
And you were thereafter confronted with those phone records, correct?
I was asked about them, yes.
And those phone records established that you and Brian Albert actually exchanged not one, but 2 phone calls at 2:22 a.m. that morning, at a time when you claimed you were in bed asleep, correct?
I have no recollection of any phone calls.
May I approach you on?
Yes.
Please. May I approach you?
Yes.
Thank you. Take a look at those 2 documents and tell me if you recognize at least the top one.
Do they have a page number for me to follow or no?
I was just asking Ms. Little, I don't think we've introduced them, and no, they don't have a page number, but I'm going to ask that they be marked for identification, at least at this point. So I can't mark them. Do you recognize those?
Where's Tesco? Is that out in like the Midwest somewhere? Where is that? Where's Tesco? Is that the United Kingdom? Is that where Tesco is? English supermarket? Oh, look at that. Are you in England? That's wild.
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
You watching from
These
England?
are, you know what, I'm going to, if it's okay with the court,
Oh.
maybe witness maintain those documents?
Sure.
I've heard of shipment.
I'd like to have those 2 documents marked only for identification with the court's permission.
And then if you live up in Canada, isn't it like Tim Hortons? That's a big thing up there, Tim Hortons. You have Krispy Kreme. We have Krispy Kreme. We used to have it here, and then they moved it, and now the only one is open, I think, in the casino. I don't know why the hell they got rid of it. Ah, English bird. Nice. Well, welcome. UK watching.
As one exhibit?
We can do it as one exhibit, that's fine.
Okay, could you please hand those to Madam Secretary?
Yes, Your Honor.
Sorry, what was it? Thank you.
Excuse me.
May I inquire?
Yes.
Mr. Higgins, you see the document on the lower right. It has a page number, or there's a numeric indicator 01770. In other words, 1770
On the lower right-hand corner?
in the right. I mean, in the red.
It says
Let's speed this up a little bit.
01771.
Look at
This
the
is
next
just
page.
going to be paperwork
Here,
and
it goes down
numbers
more.
right now. Essentially, what they're going to nail down is, I believe, the times that he was clocking in and out through the Canton PD. It's essentially going to put him in the Sally Port. Jackson nails him down. All right, let's speed this up just a little bit.
Why don't you come show
Am I
me?
missing something?
And now we're going to get to the feds. That's where I want to get to before we end the stream. And I want to thank everybody tonight so far that has donated. I appreciate it. It keeps the channel going. I appreciate all the new subscribers. I appreciate all the new members. Thank you all so much. If you're watching this tonight, make sure to smash the like button. We are about, let's see, 37 members away from getting to 22,000. 37 subscribers away from 22,000. That's pretty cool. I can't wait to get to 25. 25 would be awesome. But yeah, make sure to smash the like button. All right, let's keep playing through here.
It's okay. It's okay. I'll use the one with QQ and the one with 1771 because the other numbers.
When you're referencing them. When you're referencing them?
When I'm referencing them.
Okay.
Take a look at the one that's marked with the QQ.
I see it.
You've seen that document before, correct?
I think I've seen it maybe on a screen, not in my hand.
That was these were the records that were shown to you in a prior hearing.
Yes.
And you acknowledge that at least the one marked QQ is a record of your calls, correct?
It has my name, my telephone number, correct?
And it indicates that on January 29th, 2022, at 2:22 and 35 seconds, you received a call from Brian Albert, duration of 1 second, correct?
Yes.
In other words, Brian Albert called you at 2:22 and 35 seconds, but it looks like you missed the call, correct?
I see the 1 second call, yes.
There's a second call just below that. On the same date at 2:22 and 52 seconds from you to Brian Albert. Do you see that one?
Yes.
And the duration of that call is 22 seconds, correct?
I see that, yes.
Sorry. No, I was saying it's coming up. It's coming up. The butt dial. And when I was watching this live, I lost it that he said that he butt dialed, because I was saying to myself, it's like eerily funny that all of the people that have testified so far are using a lot of the same similar language in all of this. I mean, you've got to be telling me they're not all in on this. Like 3 people already have said butt dials. That statistically is not even possible. It's not even possible. All right, let's hear him say butt dial. I lost my shit when I heard this live.
So 17 seconds after you missed a call, according to these records, from Brian Albert, you called him back, and there was a call lasting 22 seconds. Is that right?
That's what the records say.
May I approach?
Yes.
Well, I just said when it all came out, I said Canton, Mass, the butt dial capital of the world.
So the fact is, you were speaking to Brian Albert in the middle of the night, approximately 3 hours before Mr. O'Keefe's body was found in his yard, correct?
No, that's not correct.
And that was 5 minutes before 2:27 a.m. when there was a Google search for how long to die in the cold, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
And then, of course, you lied about that under oath in that prior proceeding by saying, I don't remember this phone call.
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you, in fact, tell the truth at the prior proceeding when you said,
I wonder if, like, when the jury heard that, they're like, and excuse me, I mean, it's late, I'm going to swear. If I was a juror and I was literally sitting there and I heard that again, I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Like, this guy's going to go with this. You know what I mean? That's legitimately, that's what I would say in my head. Like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. You're going to roll with this dude? Like, come on.
I remember that phone call.
I always tell the truth.
Did you lie under oath, sir?
No,
It's funny. We've heard that quite a few times in this too. A lot of these witnesses say, I always tell the truth. Brian Albert, I always tell the truth. Jen McCabe, I always tell the truth. Brian Higgins, I always tell the truth. Matt McCabe, I believe, said it as well too. I always tell the truth. Interesting. And they're all butt dialing each other. Look at all the things they have in common.
I did not.
Would you tell us if you did?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
You acknowledge that there's a 22-second phone call in your phone records, correct?
That's what's reflected by the record.
And 22 seconds is quite an amount of time. Would you agree?
It's 22 seconds.
As a matter of fact, it's about this long with the court's permission.
The court does not give permission. That's argument, Mr. Jackson.
If we were to count off 22 seconds, that's an uncomfortably long time, is it not?
No,
It's long enough to have a conversation, isn't it?
I didn't have a conversation.
Is 22 seconds long enough to have a conversation?
No,
A human being can't have a conversation in 22 seconds?
sure they could. I don't think it's anything of substance.
Okay, so
Oh
that's
my
my
God.
question. Is it
We've
22
already
seconds
proved it
long
is.
enough to have a conversation?
We've already experimented earlier in the stream. We experimented to show you how long and how much conversation can happen in 22 seconds. And remember, we listened to test, we timed it off. We did 22 seconds, silent, felt like forever. And then we played testimony, and Jackson asked 3 questions and got answers in 22 seconds. Mother of Beagles. Whoops, that was a butt super chat. Thanks for doing what you do. I love that. That's great. Add the $5 to the total at $195. I think that's put us at the $50 goal, which is awesome. And we'll just keep rolling it up. And then at the end, you know how I'll do it. I make the $50 donation on Karen Reed's Defense Fund. And then I take the receipt and I post it up on the LTL Media Facebook page. And I put it on the LTL Community tab on my homepage for transparency. And then ultimately, the 100% way that you can vet it is if you just go right to the defense link, and it will say LTL chat raiser 52624. And then the donation will be right there as well, too. All right, let's keep rolling along. And I'm going to say to date, I think we've raised and kicked back probably over at this point $1,000. So thank you. Thank all of you.
I don't agree with it. No.
Now, when you were asked about this and you were shown these records, that prior hearing, you had an explanation for what that 22-second call may have been and what the prior call may have been, correct?
Yes.
What was your explanation?
Well, I used a phrase that people commonly used as a butt dial.
Great time. Crime time. Good stuff.
So you think it's possible that you may have butt dialed Brian Albert for a 22-second call that you're not aware of?
I think it's possible that he could have been inadvertently called back, but I have no recollection of that, nor did I have any conversation with anybody.
But you admitted that you lived alone, correct, Mr. Higgins?
That's correct.
You had an iPhone at the time.
Yes.
Matter of fact, that number for the reflecting those records is in fact, or was in fact, an iPhone. Is that right?
Yes.
You already indicated under oath that you don't sleep with your iPhone. You keep it on your bedside table. Is that right?
Most often, yes.
There's nobody else in your room. Is that right?
That's correct.
And you had your ringer on because you were awakened the next morning by a call from Chief Berkowitz, right?
Yes, the ringer was on.
When somebody calls you and you miss the call, there's a notification that shows up on that iPhone. Isn't that right?
I don't know how mine's set up at the time. I don't know.
If you open up your phone app and you go to recents, it shows all the missed calls, correct?
Right.
I think you can get to them, yes.
And you know that the iPhone does not automatically call people back. That is not a thing, right? You miss a call from someone, it's not just going to automatically re-ring them.
Yes, I think we both know that, yes.
So to call somebody back, you have to go on your iPhone, open it up from a locked position.
Virginia Little, thank you so much for the 5. She said $1,000 is awesome. Yeah, absolutely. What I do is I think the last time I did a total, it was closer, just over 1,000. I'm gonna go back and retotal it, but you can see all the. Let's see. You can see all the. That's all the receipts that we've kicked back. And you can go on there and look at all the just on the defense link. You'll see it was a LTL chat raiser and then the dates that we're doing the donation. So thank you. We'll kick that 5 in there, 25% of it back to Karen. All right, let's go.
Navigate to a phone application, then navigate to a contact, and then make a call, correct?
Objection.
Sustained. You can break it down.
Sure. In order to call somebody back, if you've missed a call, you first have to unlock your iPhone.
You would have to, yes.
You can do that either through Face ID or through a 4 or 6-digit passcode, right?
Yes.
Don't tell me the code, but did you have a 4 or a 6-digit passcode locking your iPhone at the time?
I don't know if it was a digit code or a Face ID.
Well, if you have a Face ID, you have to have a digit code as well, right?
I guess so.
Okay. Did you open your phone with your Face ID or a multi-digit code?
I have no recollection of answering the phone or calling anybody back.
You also have to navigate, once the phone is unlocked, you have to navigate to the phone app, correct?
I don't know necessarily if you unlocked it with your face, if it would be right there.
Oh
I've never thought about it.
Once you unlock that phone app, you have to manipulate the phone on the screen with your finger in order to make a call, correct?
You would have to hit at least one button, I guess.
At least one, right?
Yes.
So that's 3 or 4 interactions with the phone that have to be physically undertaken to just make one call, right?
But I didn't make any calls.
So how'd you butt dial?
I didn't make any calls. I have no recollection of any calls, nor did I speak with anybody.
You don't think Karen's sitting there going, you gotta be fucking kidding me. You know what I mean? Come on, dude. Like, yeah, he's an ATF agent. Exactly. Come on, dude. Like,
After you were shown these phone records at that prior hearing, in that hearing at least, you finally admitted that you did in fact call Brian Albert back, but this time you claimed the two of you just sort of sat in silence. Isn't that right?
Objection.
So I'm going to sustain it in that form. You can ask it appropriately, Mr. Jackson.
Did you ever previously testify that you did in fact make the call, but you did not have a conversation during the course of the call?
What I think I testified was something must have happened, but I didn't have any phone call.
Do you remember being asked, quote, did you call him back?
that's right,
End quote.
crime.
And you answered yes. And then there was a
There
question.
was-
People that have nothing to hide, they hand over their phones.
There was a series of questions there. That's only a fragment of what I said.
I'm not done yet, Mr. Higgins. Can you answer my question?
Yes.
To the question, did you call him back? Your answer was yes, correct?
I think it was kind of, I must have.
Then you were asked, well, the answer was yes. And then there was a colloquy back and forth where you spoke over each other's words, right?
There was dialogue back and forth about this whole thing. Yes.
May I approach you?
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
exactly.
You
Exactly.
see the pink highlighted question and the pink highlighted answer.
Yes.
What's the question? Please read it for me.
Did you call him back?
What's the answer?
Yes.
Thank you. May I approach?
Yes.
He called him. He testified. He called him.
You then said a little bit further in that same conversation, I did not have a conversation.
Yeah, right.
Correct?
I did not have a conversation with anybody.
And the question following that was, you just listened to the phone, what someone was telling you? Answer, it's possible that the phone picked up on the other end and nobody said anything. And then I terminated the call, end quote. That's what you said at the other hearing under oath, correct? Yes or no?
Can I see it?
Sure.
Everybody's going to look at the document, just like Jen McCabe. Can I see it? Can I see it? They got to keep their lies straight.
Ma'am?
Yes.
Mr. Lally, same page.
Thank you.
The bottom portion in pink. If you could read that answer to yourself, please. You have that in mind, sir?
No, can I have a minute, please?
May I?
Yes.
Thank you. Does that refresh your recollection about how you answered that question?
Yes.
And your answer was, it's possible that the phone picked up on the other end and nobody said anything. And then I terminated the call. That's the only thing.
Meaning it's possible it could have happened.
It's possible it could have happened that you had a 22-second call with Brian Albert,
I
correct?
did not have a 22-second call with Brian Albert. There was no
Oh my
conversation.
God.
You've had some time to
Dude.
think about this 2:22 a.m. call, correct?
You're
Since that last
lying,
testimony.
bro.
Some time to think about it?
Yeah.
I haven't really thought about it, no.
So for over a year, you haven't even considered the fact that you were caught with a phone record lying about not having a conversation with Brian Albert at 2:22 in the morning.
Objection.
He knows he's lying. He's just holding it in.
Mr. Higgins, what was so important that you and Brian Albert
Right.
needed to discuss something at 2:22 in the morning?
Right.
There was no discussion. I never talked to Brian Albert.
Then why the 22-second phone call, sir?
Right.
Objection.
Sustained.
And why are we not? Why is the judge sustaining these objections? We need to know what they talked about. This is important to the case. You're objecting that. That is a vital piece of information. Let's hear what he had to say. There's so much bias with this judge.
I want to talk about what you did after you woke up on January 29th, 2022. That was obviously a memorable day in your mind, correct?
It was a sad day.
The very first person you spoke to after waking up was who?
Well, I believe I said I got the call from Chief Berkowitz.
That's not my question.
Say that again?
Who's the first person you spoke to on the phone that morning when you woke up?
Brian Albert.
Whose idea was it for you to drive to Brian Albert's house that morning?
It was my idea.
Was it important to you to speak with Brian Albert in person rather than over text or phone call?
No, it was important to support the people that were there.
So, of course, you drove over to his house, you had an opportunity to speak to him in person without any law enforcement presence, correct?
I was there with everybody, not just Brian Albert.
And Brian Albert was in the house and you were in the house, right?
That's correct.
So you had access to him and others without any law enforcement there. Is that right?
That's correct.
As soon as you got off the phone with Brian Albert that morning, who did you call? At 7:22 a.m., if you
I
recall.
think I might have called Chief Berkowitz back.
Why?
So as soon as you got off the phone with Brian Albert, first thing in the morning, the next call you made was to Chief Berkowitz. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yes, because he had called me first. Yes, I called him back.
Did you request from Chief Berkowitz any information that he may have had concerning the investigation surrounding John O'Keefe being found at 34 Fairview that morning?
No,
Were you trying to see how much law enforcement knew right away?
absolutely. I didn't even know what happened.
Were you trying to gather information about what happened so that you would know what happened?
Objection.
I'll allow it. Is that
No.
what you were trying to do?
No, Your Honor.
What did Chief Berkowitz tell you about his knowledge of John O'Keefe's body being found just after 6 a.m.?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you tell Chief Berkowitz that you had been with John O'Keefe and you were at the crime scene
Frustrated he gets.
the night before?
Objection.
Sustained. You can ask that differently.
Did you inform Chief Berkowitz that you had been with John O'Keefe the night before?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
I believe I may have told him at some point that I saw John at the waterfall.
Did you tell Chief Berkowitz that you had been at 34 Fairview?
I believe I did.
Did you tell him that your vehicle was parked just feet away from where John's body was discovered?
No, because I didn't know where he was discovered.
Did you tell Chief Berkowitz that you and Brian Albert had had a call at 2:22 in the morning?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you tell Chief Berkowitz that you had been flirting
Why?
with John O'Keefe's girlfriend?
Why is it every time that 222 call comes up, this guy he ducks his head down. He knows he had that call. What was said on that call? What are you hiding? And that's why he smashed his phone. Because of the connection, the calls. That's why he smashed his phone.
In the weeks prior to his death?
No,
Did you ever tell Chief Berkowitz about the nature of your interest in Miss Reed?
no, I don't believe so.
Did you tell Chief Berkowitz that you had seen Mr. O'Keefe and Miss Reed the night before and that Miss Reed had ignored you?
Objection.
Sustained. You can break that down, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Your Honor. If I may have just a moment.
Uh-oh. I think this is going to be the Fed test.
You indicated just a second ago that when I asked,
up.
did you tell Chief Berkowitz that your Jeep was parked just feet away from where John O'Keefe's body was found? You said, I have no idea where John O'Keefe's body was found, correct?
That's correct.
You had just spoken with Brian Albert, right?
He said in front of the house.
All he said was, John O'Keefe was found in front of the house. He didn't say right outside on my front lawn.
I believe he said he was found out in front of his house unresponsive.
Okay. If he was out in front of his house, then you would know, because your Jeep was also parked out in front of his house, that your Jeep would just be feet away from him, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you tell Chief Berkowitz that you had texted John O'Keefe
People are hiding so much stuff.
to have him come over to 34 Fairview just hours before he was discovered dead in the yard?
No,
Did you think any of that was important when talking to the Chief of Police of the Canton Police Department?
I'll let him have it.
no, I didn't. There was no reason to tell him.
You've been an investigator for some 15 years and you were a firefighter for years before that, correct?
Yes,
You're very familiar with some of the tools that are used in conducting modern investigations, correct?
Uh-oh.
Yes.
You'd agree that searching electronic devices and phones
Uh-oh, here it comes.
is an incredibly important investigative tool that modern investigators use, correct?
Objection.
In that form, I'll sustain it.
Are you aware that searching electronic devices is an important part of investigations?
Objection.
Are you aware of that, sir? Do you agree with that?
I've utilized phone data during the course of my investigations at times.
Come
yes.
on, bro.
Okay, so another way to put that is obviously phone data and electronic data is an important part of investigation.
Objection.
Sustain.
Yeah.
What time do you believe you got to Brian Albert's house that morning after you received the phone calls and woke up? What time did you make your way back over to Brian Albert's house?
Maybe around 7:15 in that area.
Was there any law enforcement presence there when you arrived?
I can't recall specifically. There could have been one police car. I'm not positive.
Did any officer
Cleared out pretty quick, didn't they?
ever ask you to take a look at your vehicle?
At what time?
That time? Actually, at any time.
No, to my knowledge, nobody from law enforcement associated with the investigation had ever asked to take a look at my vehicle.
So they certainly didn't ask that day, correct? On the 20.
What I'm saying is, to my knowledge, nobody has ever asked me that.
Right. So that's my point. I'm just trying to break it down.
You want to tell me every instance when somebody could have asked me?
Correct.
Okay.
On the 29th, were you asked whether or not your vehicle could be searched?
Searched or inspected? What do you mean?
Either one.
Well, I would consider a search the inside of the vehicle more so than the outside. I would consider the outside more of an inspection. I would have been happy to show them it.
I'm sure you would have. I'm asking, did they ask?
No.
They didn't have to search it. They didn't have to inspect it.
No.
When you met with troopers, who was it that you met with on the 3rd of February?
Trooper Proctor and Trooper Buchanan.
Did either Trooper
Hockey.
Proctor or Trooper Buchanan ask to inspect your vehicle, otherwise search it?
Not to my recollection.
And to this day, nobody from Massachusetts State Police has ever indicated that they want to inspect your vehicle.
No.
When you entered the house that morning, Brian Albert was there, Nicole Albert, Jen McCabe, Matt McCabe, Brian Albert Jr., and Julie Albert were all there. I'm sorry, had Julie Albert gotten there yet?
She came after me.
Okay, so at some point, all the people that I just tipped off, they were all inside the house.
Brian
right?
Albert Jr., Nicole, Brian, Matt, and Jen.
You all discussed the incident together, correct?
I wouldn't describe it that way. No.
Did each of you discuss your own perspectives about what had happened the night before in the early morning hours?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
People were in shock at the table trying to figure out what happened. The math didn't make sense. John and the defendant never showed up.
Hello, New
People
Zealand.
were in shock.
Trying to figure out what to say, right?
No.
And you were all talking within earshot of each other, right?
We were all there in the kitchen talking together.
At this meeting, and these were friends and family, correct?
Excuse me?
These were friends and family amongst themselves, and you being a friend, these were friends and family inside that house discussing this incident, correct?
Yes.
So at this meeting, you actually instructed Jennifer McCabe to call Canton PD and ask someone to come back.
Objection.
Sustained as to that form, you can ask it differently.
At some point, did an officer come back to re-interview Jen McCabe?
Yes.
Jen McCabe had told you that she had information about something that Ms. Reed had said, correct?
Objection.
I'll allow it. Did she tell you that morning?
She didn't specifically tell me anything. She made a statement at the table to the group of people and she clearly seemed like she was in shock. She was upset. And she made a statement, something to the effect that Karen had opined that she had hit John.
What she actually said was, I hope I didn't hit him, correct?
Objection.
It's not what I heard. No.
That'll stand.
Who did you ever tell this to?
I've reported that.
That she said, I hit him?
Yes, I've reported it.
What you reported was Karen said, I hope I didn't hit him. And you said, oh, you need to tell Canton PD that. Isn't that right?
No, I don't think that's what I said. No.
You're sure about that as you are about that 222 call, right?
Objection.
Mr. Higgins, what time did you leave Brian Albert's house?
It would have been, I believe, when Sergeant Lank arrived, and I think Lieutenant Gallagher might have been with him.
You weren't scheduled to work that Saturday, correct?
No.
Matter of fact, you weren't on duty at all.
No, I
right?
wasn't.
But you didn't go home and get some sleep or run errands. You went directly to Canton PD from 34 Fairview yet again, didn't you?
Who could sleep after somebody just was discovered like that?
Did you go home or did you?
I don't believe I did, no. I believe there might have been a stop at Canton PD before I went home.
As a matter of fact, you didn't just stop at Canton PD. You spent the entire day at Canton PD on the 29th, didn't you?
I don't know that I spent the entire day there, no.
Well, you've got a key card, right?
I do have a key card.
And that key card logs swipes.
That's correct.
So it logs where you go, access to, and access inside the
Yes.
Canton PD, correct?
Yes.
When you got to Canton PD, and you're telling this jury, you don't know how long you spent there.
I don't know how long I spent there. I don't know if I left and I came back. I don't recall.
So if the records indicate that you were there from 9 a.m.-ish, after 5,
I don't know how the records would indicate that.
I'll show you in a second.
Okay.
While you were at Canton PD, did you speak again to Brian Albert?
I don't remember.
While you were at Canton PD, did you speak again to Chief Berkowitz?
Most likely.
While you were at Canton PD, did you speak with Brian Albert's brother, Kevin
I
Albert?
went back again.
I don't believe so.
Your Honor, may I approach this one?
Look at Lally. He's so defeated. He's sitting there tapping his pen.
I just want to see if you recognize. May I approach?
Look
PD,
at
did you
Lally.
speak with Brian Albert's brother,
Watch
Kevin Albert?
Lally.
I don't believe so.
He's so defeated. I'm gonna slow this down so you can see Lally. Watch Lally. He's so defeated. He's like a kid like in a classroom, taking a test and doesn't want to take it, and he's playing with his pen. Watch Lally. Watch Lally.
Your Honor, may I approach this one?
He's like tapping his pen. He's probably playing hangman. He's like he's drawing stick figures.
Yeah, there's a particular area, but I just want to see if you recognize. May I approach?
Look at him. He's so
you.
defeated.
It's a 167-page document. Just take a glance through. Obviously, don't read the whole thing. Just glance through it and tell me if you recognize what that is.
He's working on a resume. All right, I'm gonna speed this up a little bit. I want to get to the Fed.
So it says Canton Police, all events logged by day.
So don't read it out loud, please.
Oh, sorry.
Just do you recognize
Yes, I
it?
do. Okay.
May I approach?
Yes.
This appears to be a log of key swipes in and around Canton PD,
Nailing
correct?
down the key
Yes.
swipe.
And it's in
Sally
reverse
Ford.
chronological order, in other words.
I didn't note that, but okay.
Okay. You acknowledge that that is a record of the key swipes that everybody uses moving in and around Canton PD, going through doors. Every place that needs a key swipe is logged.
I would assume that's what that is, yes.
All right. It shows that you entered Canton PD for the first time on the 29th at 1:27 a.m. Does that sound about right? When you got there, you say to move your cars.
It's possible.
It shows that you were granted access to floor corridor 227.
Yes, that's yeah, that's when you leave and you don't tell anybody. You just go. This is the greatest. I can't stop laughing. That's so good. Oh, that's so funny. Oh, my side hurts. Oh, my side literally hurts right now. Oh, that's so funny. All right, let's keep playing through. That was great.
7, does that mean
I
anything
needed
to
a
you?
good laugh.
What about floor corridor 226 on the second floor?
Second floor would make sense because I went in the building and then to the second floor.
Um,
That's great.
Let me have just a moment, Your Honor.
Sure.
I think they're gonna get to the Fed stuff now.
By the way, did Brian Albert ever mention what time the officers cleared the scene?
No,
Without telling me the substance of the conversation, did he tell you when he talked to you at 7:20 or?
not that I recall. No.
But you remember by the time you got there, the scene had basically been cleared. There wasn't a bunch of emergency vehicles, crime scene tape, nothing like that.
I didn't see fire trucks. I might have saw a cruiser. I can't be sure. I don't recall.
But you're not sure about that either.
Sorry, I'm
You're not sure about even seeing a cruiser, correct?
not 100%. No.
Certainly, we're not contacted by a law enforcement officer who took your name and ID or anything like that.
No.
Parked and walked in the house.
Yes.
You want to approach one more time?
Yes.
That's a good one too, Jason. That's good.
I'd like to have that document marked as next in order base pages. It represents base pages 2850 to 3016.
All right, so marked for identification. Is there an agreement this is coming in, Mr. Lally?
There's not, no.
All right, so that's marked for identification, not next in order.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Higgins, if you will, I'm sorry, are we ready? Thank you. May I proceed?
Yes.
Mr. Higgins, if you look at base page 3015, which actually is in order, that's not reverse chronological, it's the second to the last page.
I have it.
One quick second.
Excuse me.
And you take a look at the 8th entry from the bottom.
I see it.
Does that indicate that this all occurred on 129/22? This entry at least?
Well, I mean, I only on that 8th entry, I see that's associated with my name. I don't know what the other ones are associated with.
Right. It would be other individuals in Canton PD. I mean, this is the entire log for 129, right?
Okay, but what all I'm saying is that just my name is next to that. I don't see any other name. So
Right.
okay.
So on 129/2022, I'm just trying to orient you. At 127 and 52 seconds,
I see
access
it.
granted, Brian Higgins, rear entry to secure
this is
corridor,
how
rear entry to
you get him
secure
into the Sally
corridor,
port.
correct?
Yes.
All right, so that appears to be
Speed
what
up.
the log entry or the key swipe entry looks like when it's logged, correct?
Yes.
If you look at page 2967,
I want to get to the Fed stuff. I'm going to speed up a little bit. Y'all don't mind,
I'm
right?
sorry, I said it backwards, 2970.
I'm going to speed up. Do y'all mind? Because we're about 2 hours. I want to get. I'm tired, but I want to hear the Fed stuff. I'm going to speed up. Is that okay? Let's get to the Fed stuff. This is basically just going to get him in the Sally port. All right, we'll speed up. I want to get to the Fed stuff. Let's see.
I made that day.
Understood. Do you remember talking to Kevin Albert?
I don't about this.
And
No.
you're consistently through the day.
In that form, you can ask one part of that question.
Sure.
Let's go here.
Were you getting any information from Canton PD?
No, I wasn't.
Did you provide any information to Brian Albert
No, I did not.
based on any conversations or conduct at Canton PD?
No.
May I approach?
Yes.
But you were, in fact, on the phone with all of those interested parties throughout the day, you'll agree.
I was
Answer that.
okay.
There's
Yes,
no
Your Honor.
objection. You can.
Yes, they're friends, and I was on the phone with them. Yes.
And sir, you were not on duty that day, correct?
No,
You are not a Canton police officer, correct?
that's correct.
You were not assigned to this investigation in any formal capacity, were you?
I was not.
As a matter of fact, you're a witness in a homicide investigation. That's your only role in this, correct?
That's correct, but they're still my friends. Yes.
And yet you're still having conversations with Kevin Albert at Canton PD while you're at Canton PD, correct?
Not about this.
And you're having conversations with Chief Berkowitz of Canton PD while you're at Canton PD, correct?
I had conversations with them, but not about this.
And
No.
you're consistently through the day calling Brian Albert, aren't you?
I had conversations with Brian Albert. John was found on his lawn. Yes, of course, I had phone conversations with him.
want to take you back for a second to a couple of other entries, including one at 3:57, one at 3:58, and one at 4:07. I'm going to draw your attention to 2885 and 2886. Once you have the pages, I'll give you the times once again.
2885.
2885 and 2886. We'll start with 2886 and then work backward.
Okay.
First entry is at 3:57 and 54 seconds.
I'm going to speed this up again.
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you receive a flurry of phone calls from Brian Albert and Chief Berkowitz indicating that some taillight pieces or a taillight piece had been recovered at 34 Fairview later that evening?
Objection.
Taillight whisperer.
Did you receive a call at all, without telling me what the conversation consisted of, around 6:12 p.m. from Brian Albert?
I don't know what day you're referring to.
The 29th.
No, I don't remember any phone calls like that.
Do you remember 3 minutes later getting another call from Chief Berkowitz at 6:16 p.m. that lasted about 5 minutes and 15 seconds?
No.
Fair approach?
Yes.
Uh-oh. This is where it starts to get interesting.
You look at the entries for 6:12, 6:16. See if that refreshes your recollection.
Are you referring to the?
6:12 and 6:16.
Okay, I see those. Yes.
There was a call at 6:12,
That sounds about right.
February 1st, Trooper Proctor.
I'm not exactly sure the date, but it was several days after. Yes.
I'm sorry, I said February 1st, maybe it's
I don't-
February 3rd.
Yeah. Okay. So this is what I was talking about earlier. Another instance with February 3rd. February 3rd, Jennifer McCabe testifies that she hands over her phone to the Canton PD. February 3rd is the date that Karen Reed's SUV is processed inside the Canton PD Sally port. And I'm going to go back, and he says something here too about February 3rd. I want to see what this was.
Brian Albert and Chief Berkowitz indicating that some taillight pieces or a taillight piece had been
Listen to this.
recovered at 34 Fairview later that evening.
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you receive a call at all, without telling me what the conversation consisted of, around 6:12 p.m. from Brian Albert?
I don't know what day you're referring to.
The 29th.
No, I don't remember any phone calls like that.
Do you remember 3 minutes later getting another call from Chief Berkowitz at 6:16 p.m. that lasted about 5 minutes and 15 seconds?
No.
Fair approach?
Yes.
I went back too far, but I'll speed this up a little bit.
You look at the entries for 6:12, 6:16. See if that refreshes your recollection.
Are you referring to the?
6:12 and 6:16.
Okay, I see those. Yes.
There was a call at 6:12 that Brian Albert made to you for a duration of 1 minute and 7 seconds, correct?
Yes.
And right after that, there was a call from Chief Berkowitz to you at 6:16 that lasted 5 minutes and 15 seconds, correct?
Yes.
That approach?
Yes.
They telling you that taillight pieces had been found at the location.
All right, let's hear this.
Objection.
Sustained.
Your Honor, may we approach briefly?
Okay.
Okay, this is probably going to be the Fed stuff. Let's see. Something about that February 3rd date that's coming up. And I find this interesting. Jen McCabe hands her phone over on February 3rd. Then you have Karen's FTP process, February 3rd. Hang on. Let me just recognize the super chat. Ange, thank you so much. February 3rd, I need to keep notes with this case. Yeah, it's a lot of interesting things that happen around February 3rd. And I think they're going to talk about another instance right here. All right, let's go.
So may I inquire?
Yes.
Your testimony is that you don't recall the substance of those conversations at 6:12 and 6:16.
I don't know.
Isn't it true that you were asked about those phone calls at another hearing?
I might have been. I don't recall.
And did you testify at the other hearing that, in fact, what was discussed was the substance of the taillights being found at the location?
No, that's not what that was in reference to.
Were you being provided information from your friend, Chief Berkowitz, about the progress of the investigation?
No,
Were you providing your friend, Brian Albert, information about the progress of the investigation or what you perceived it to be?
no, I didn't have any information on the investigation.
May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Sure.
This guy's nervous.
You were not interviewed about this case in any formal capacity until 5 days later, correct?
That sounds about right.
February 1st, Trooper Proctor?
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure the date, but it was several days after. Yes.
I'm sorry, I said February 1st, maybe
I
it's
don't-
February 3rd.
Okay, so Jen McCabe hands her phone over to Canton PD on February 3rd. February 3rd, Karen's SUV is being processed inside the Canton Sally Port. Brian Higgins has an interview with Trooper Proctor on February 3rd. So why not take Jen McCabe's information? Why not take the interview that Brian Higgins gives in his information? And now they start setting this all up on Karen Reed on the 3rd. And that's where they smash her taillight inside the Sally Port. And go and take the blood and put it on the back of her bumper or on the back of the light. And that hair that didn't even turn out to be anything. But I find it interesting that all this stuff kind of starts, the wheels start spinning in this investigation around February 3rd. It's a lot of important things that happen in around February 3rd.
I don't know the date, but we were into February.
Where did that interview take place?
Sharon, Mass.
I'm sorry?
Sharon, Mass.
At what location?
This is the Fed. This is the Fed. This is where he extracts the phone.
Sorry.
What location?
I'll see counsel very quickly at Seneca.
And Lally knows. They already know all this inside the FBI report. That's why he's objecting. He knows. They didn't want it to come in on the record, but guess what? It's going to come on the record. Look at he's defeated. There you go.
By the time you interviewed with Trooper Proctor, you had already had numerous conversations with Brian Albert. Is that safe to say?
Well, the interview was with both Trooper Proctor, Sergeant Buchanan, and of course I've talked to Brian Albert because.
Oh, look at this. Darcy. I got to write these down. So what did we say? Jen McCabe. Hands over phone to Canton PD. Okay. Karen's SUV. Is processed in Canton. Higgins interview with Proctor. And then Darcy says, no, yeah, that was a couple of weeks later. That's when the cover up to the cover up started on the 3rd. I think so too. It's interesting. All this information started coming in. They started getting the digital forensics off Jen McCabe's phone. They have the interview with Higgins. And I got to go back. There's got to look at a timeline and just see what everything that coordinated around February 3rd. And then Karen's SUV is processed on the 3rd. I'm going to try to find, there's a bunch of timelines out there, but I'm going to find the timeline and start going through this. So it was impounded on the 29th, but it didn't get processed until the 3rd. You can look in the PCA and it says that. The crime, this Mass State Police Crime Lab showed up at Canton PD on the 3rd, and that's when they finally started processing it. And that was always my beef in this. If you have Karen's SUV on the 29th and you have the potential murder weapon that potentially murdered a Boston police officer, why are you waiting until February 3rd to process it? And then look at what's happening all behind that. Jen McCabe hands her phone over on the 3rd. Brian Higgins has his interview with Trooper Proctor on the 3rd. Karen's SUV starts to get processed on the 3rd. It's really interesting. It's like they almost waited for all this information to come in so they could start spinning the story.
Of what took place?
Higgins, that was a yes or no question.
Yeah, of course I've talked to him, yes.
Okay, and the answer is yes, right? Can we agree?
The answer is yes.
Thank you. By the time you spoke with Trooper Proctor and Trooper Butnick, you had already had numerous conversations with Chief Berkowitz, correct?
Yes.
You had already had numerous conversations with Kevin Albert.
Yes.
You had already had this meeting with the Alberts and the McCabe's over at 34 Fairview. Is that right?
I went to the house.
And discussed this case, as you earlier described in your testimony.
I discussed what we were trying to figure out what
You
happened.
discussed this case, Mr. Higgins.
Well, at that point, it wasn't a case.
Okay, I'm not parsing words about what a case is versus a matter versus an issue. You understood my question, didn't you?
Yes.
Is there a reason you don't want to answer that question?
I don't have a problem.
Objection, Your Honor.
No, is there a reason? Or why don't you go ahead and explain?
Well, I feel you're trying to make it.
Whoa, 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 whoa. February 3rd, Trooper Proctor allegedly finds more plastic pieces at the scene. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Jen McCabe hands her phone over on the 3rd. I'm getting goosebumps right now. Jen McCabe hands her phone over on the 3rd to Canton PD. Brian Higgins just said and testified on the stand that he had his interview with Trooper Proctor on the 3rd. Check this out. I'm getting this from the Court TV timeline, which is pretty bad, but I can get a more detailed one right here. February 3rd, Trooper Proctor allegedly finds more plastic pieces at the scene. And then Karen's SUV is processed on the 3rd. Something, this is when this all started to shape. The 3rd. That is yes, that was the magical discovery day. Yep. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. You see how this is all starting to line up? Now that we're hearing all the full testimony, we can start pulling all these dates together. This is when they started coordinating all it. The 3rd was the big day. That's right. The 3rd was the big day when all this started to go down. The cover-up for the cover-up date. Exactly. Wow. I'm going to dig more into this and see what else I can come up with. And then I'm going to start putting this all together on a stream. And then Karen's arraignment, I think, was on the 2nd as well, too. Yep. Let's see. February 2nd, Reed pleads not guilty. Oh, man, this is such a fucking cover-up. Wow. So February 3rd, February 1st, Jen McCabe tells police for the first time that Reed had asked her to Google how long to die do you need to be left out in the cold to die of hypothermia. Reed pleads not guilty in Stoughton District Court to charges of manslaughter, motor vehicle homicide, and leaving the scene of a vehicle homicide, post $50,000 bail. Jen McCabe turns over her phone to law enforcement. No, that's not right. She said it was on the 3rd. I remember she said it was on the 3rd. Trooper Proctor then allegedly finds more plastic pieces at the scene on the 3rd. And then on the 4th, Ken Berkowitz is back there and finds more pieces resembling a taillight on the street outside of Fairview residence. Come on, bro. Come on. What is going on here? Come on. And then on the 9th, because that story wasn't going to stick, so they're going to up Reed's charges to second-degree murder, because what happened was, initially back in February, they felt that when they confronted Karen Reed with all of this and pinned this shit on her, that she was going to be weak and she was going to fall and she was going to take a deal and probably go away for 3 to 5 years on the manslaughter charge, the involuntary manslaughter. She didn't. And then when they knew they couldn't get her, they came back and said, fuck you. You're not going to take the blame. Second-degree murder. That's what they did. That's what they did to this girl, this woman. That's what they did to her. She wasn't going to take the plea, and they probably came to her. Hey, listen, if you just take a plea, you'll be out in 2 to 3, 2 to 5. You'll be out. Nope, I'm not going to go down like that because I didn't do anything. Oh, yeah? Guess what? Fuck you, second-degree murder. And then they felt when they were going to nail her with the second-degree murder, she was going to fold. Nope, because she went out and had David Yannetti. I think she had Yannetti at that time, but got Alan Jackson, and it was going to be over for the Commonwealth because when this got into trial, and you're clearly seeing it now. But this is nuts. And I want to dig a little bit more into this. I'm sure many, many other YouTubers have done this. But now I'm starting to see that February 3rd date is lining up when all this shit went down. When all this shit went down. All right, let's get back to the testimony, and we'll hopefully get ready to finish this up in a minute.
Sound like something it wasn't. It
I'm
was.
not trying to make it sound like anything, sir. I'm asking a question. Had you discussed this case or the issues surrounding this case with those folks?
I did discuss things when I went back to the house. Yes.
And that was before you met with Trooper Proctor and Trooper Buchanan.
Yes, that's correct.
You had already spent an enormous amount of time at Canton PD. We've just gone through those records. Is that right?
I have been at Canton PD. Yes.
And you had been able to talk to, you had access at least to all the officers, correct?
What do you mean by?
Anybody that was coming and going at Canton PD.
And Brian Albert had many, many conversations with Berkowitz, was a friend with him. And then Proctor finds pieces on the 3rd, and then Berkowitz goes back on the 4th and finds pieces. This is crazy.
Access for what purpose?
Just to walk by them, hear what they were saying, see what they were doing.
That's not what I was doing. No.
I'm not accusing you of doing anything. I'm saying you had access to the individuals within the Canton PD, correct?
Right.
To interact if needed. Yes.
And very obviously you had access to the Sally Port.
And access. Yes. And that's a cut through I used all the time.
And anything that was in it, correct?
I wouldn't need anything in it.
It was only after all that
Why are
that
you
Michael
doing
Proctor
it?
thought that you were worthy of a conversation.
Objection.
I'll rephrase it. It was only after all of that that you were interviewed by Michael Proctor and Trooper Buchanan, correct?
I wasn't interviewed to the following days. That's correct.
At some point on February 4th, Chief Berkowitz called you to personally inform you that he had personally found taillight at 34 Fairview. Is that right?
There it is.
He did tell me that. Yes.
And to be clear, that's the same Ken Berkowitz that you were with in the Sally Port.
I don't recall being in the Sally Port with him. No.
What did you do with that information when you learned from Chief Berkowitz that he personally saw a taillight piece as he drove by?
I didn't do anything with the information.
Did you call Brian Albert?
No, Brian Albert called me.
You were asked a specific question in the other proceeding in June of 2023, correct?
I don't know if it was the specific question. I was asked a series of questions on how the phone calls came in. That's what I was asked.
And your answer was, it's 100% probable that I told him about that, meaning I told Brian Albert about my conversation with Ken Berkowitz, correct?
It's possible.
Was that your statement or not?
It was my statement then, but I've thought about it. Yes.
And you've changed your statement somehow?
I don't know if I changed my statement, but I think the way the phone calls came in is Brian Albert told me, you're not going to believe what was found on the front lawn. And then I believe Ken Berkowitz told me he found the taillight. And I'm referring to the taillight from the both of them. I didn't provide any information to anybody.
Well,
information was provided to me.
What you actually said was, it's 100% probable that I told him about that. Yes, 100%. I'm not hiding that fact.
I'm just pausing for a second. I'm going to find something. Okay, my bad. It was on the 1st. February 1st, members of the Mass State Police Crime Lab, servicing section of the crime division lab chemist, Trooper Joseph Paul of the Massachusetts State Collision Analysis Reconstruction. So it was on the 1st. I apologize. But still, I mean, it's 2 days before everybody starts handing their phone over. And they gather all that information. Then ironically, on the 3rd, they start finding taillight pieces everywhere. And the 4th.
But you're asking me if I recollect specifically. I know I called him after.
Objection, Your Honor.
All right, so too many facts. Go
It
slow.
was on the 1st when they processed Karen.
You said,
Still,
yes, yes, 100%.
on the 29th and the 30th, they could have been processing the potential murder weapon. Why did you wait until the 1st?
Correct?
In that testimony, I did, yes.
And then in that testimony, you went on to say, I'm not hiding that fact.
45
But you're
minutes.
asking me if I recollect specifically, correct?
I don't have it in front of me. That's what you're telling me.
You went on to say, I know I called him after that phone call, correct?
I don't know.
And you went on to say, if that's when Chief Berkowitz told me, listen, I didn't do anything wrong in this, end quote. That was your statement
Objection.
prior hearing, correct?
So I'm going to strike the end part.
Your Honor, may I?
Yes.
That's going to be the Fed stuff.
You said you don't recall that entire testimony, right?
Not that portion. Not that portion. That information about the taillight that was found was provided by each person. I didn't provide any information to anybody.
Next question.
Thank you. You said, look, I didn't do any mistake. My mistake. I thought he was with the FBI. He's a federal special agent,
He's a coworker of mine, yes.
which makes him a federal special agent, right?
Here we go.
An ATF agent, yes.
And does he work for or have access to the Regional Computer Forensics Lab?
Yes, he works over there.
Okay, that's the FBI Regional Computer Forensics Lab, correct?
Yes.
That's how I got my mistake. I apologize.
Well, I just want to make sure the record's reflected correctly.
You and me both. So you reflected it correctly. So Matt Kelch is an ATF agent who works at the FBI Regional Computer Forensics Lab, correct?
Yes.
And he's an expert in digital forensics, is he not?
He has a level of expertise more than myself,
And
yes.
he's one of your best friends.
He is my best friend.
You spoke to him about the death of John O'Keefe, did you not?
Yes.
And you asked him for a personal favor, sort of off the books, correct?
Objection.
In that form, I'll sustain it.
Did you ask him for a personal favor?
No.
Did you ask him to show you or consult with you how to pull things off of your phone that you decide to get off your phone?
I asked him how I could pull text strings off my cellular telephone for the purpose of providing them to law enforcement.
This was not in connection with any case that he was working, correct?
Correct.
It was not in connection with any case you
Oh,
were
thanks,
working,
Amber.
correct?
Objection.
Welcome in.
Objection sustained, but you already answered. I'll strike that answer. Second question you can answer. Is this in connection to any case you?
No, Your Honor.
Next question.
But you asked your friend to utilize his resources to teach you how to extract certain information off your phone? Is that what you did?
I asked him if it was possible to get this off, if there was a method to get this off my phone so I could provide it to law enforcement.
And that information was selected by you, correct?
Two particular text threads, yes.
Right. In other words, there was nobody else that was picking and choosing what to get off your phone. That was just you.
It was me, yes.
And the reason you did that, Mr. Higgins, is that you wanted to control and limit the amount of information that was pulled off your phone, right?
Objection.
Is that why you did it?
No, I did it because I wanted to provide it to law enforcement, Your Honor.
Okay, next question.
But you could have just provided your phone to law enforcement and let them
Right.
reach the entire thing, correct?
I guess that was an option, yes.
And you knew that was an option at the time. And you're a trained ATF agent.
What's the question?
You knew it was an option to just hand your phone over. Just
And-
pick it up and give it to them.
And there was also an option to provide it to them as well.
Right. But you chose the one that you got to select the information, not the one where they would get everything, correct?
Objection.
Changes to that form.
See how shameful he
Did you
looks?
actually go?
Look at him. He's so shameful. He looks down. He's a shameful beta male.
To the FBI Computer Forensics Lab?
Yes. Let me correct that.
Oh.
I didn't go to the lab itself. I went to a kiosk, what they refer to as a kiosk on the first floor over at FBI.
Okay.
And all local PDs, law enforcement
He knows
have
what he
access
did.
to that.
that's obviously,
It's an unrestricted area. You can be in there, as I understand it, unaccompanied if you're local law enforcement. It's on the first floor.
that is a federal facility, however.
Yes, it is.
Did you utilize any computer or data,
Nope.
any data extraction machinery, if you will, a computer or something to extract this data?
Well, it was a machine. I don't know what it's called.
Okay, fair enough. I'll use the word machine. I don't know what it's called either. So you hooked that phone up to a machine, correct?
Yes.
And that machine belonged to the FBI. It didn't belong to you. Is that right?
That's correct.
So that was a federal resource, not for
Yeah,
anything.
he wasn't investigating the Karen Reed case. He had no purpose to do this at all, but for personal gain. That's all he did this for. So he's using a federal resource. That's a crime. That's a crime for personal benefit. That is a crime. And he should be charged with a federal crime.
Having to do with any official case that you were working. Isn't that right?
Objection.
So I need to see you. I know this is time consuming, but I need to see you.
And then she goes, I don't know how much of this I'm going to allow. So the jury goes out. Was the jury out? All right, here we go.
Your client, or a couple of questions he's about to ask your client. Doesn't make any sense to me that somebody has counsel and the counsel is not aware of a potential issue. So you'll hear the offer of proof. I'll let you
This
speak
is
to
crazy.
Mr. Higgins before this actually happens before the jury.
Could I just have him identify?
Yes, I was just going to ask you to.
So who do you think cracked? Do you think that Higgins's friend cracked on Higgins? Or do you think that Higgins came out ahead of it and cracked so his friend wouldn't get his ass in trouble? What do you think? If you think it was Higgins that cracked, put Higgins. If you think it was Kelch, put Kelch. I think it was Kelch. I think what happened was someone either saw Higgins in there and said, who the hell was that guy? What was he doing? Or the fact of extracting that information off that machine, maybe it had to be logged somewhere if you're using that, and they didn't do it and follow protocol. And then when Kelch was questioned about it, he cracked. I think it was Kelch too.
Identify yourself.
Sure, my name is William Connolly.
Yeah, it's got to be all logged. I would assume.
N.
He went and didn't log it, and then they did an investigation and was like, who's this guy? And then when they were asked, Kelch said, oh, that's my best friend, and then essentially told them everything that he did. And I'm sure Kelch is probably in a lot of trouble too. Yeah, and the cameras, right. Look at Higgins's eyes right now.
OLLY.
All right.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
The witness has indicated that he utilized federal resources for personal gain. The specifics of that testimony have been as follows. He indicated that he contacted Matt Kelch, a federal agent. He indicated that he utilized a federal facility. He called it an unsecure facility, but
This is
it's
crazy.
federal facility notwithstanding. And that the two of them, he and Agent Kelch, utilized federal resources in the form of some kind of a machine, as the witness
really bad.
indicated, for his own personal gain, so that he could, as a witness, in no official capacity, working any official case, and in Matt Kelch's capacity as an individual rather than an agent, they both work together to download certain information from the witness's phone in anticipation of turning that highly selected, highly curated information over to law enforcement so that he could later ultimately destroy his phone, which this witness in fact did.
Okay,
This should
so
be
it's
a
not entirely, I
mistrial.
disagree with
this
you.
should be gone.
I don't think it's reached that level. His testimony was that he went to a kiosk on the first floor where all local police departments can go. It's unrestricted. It's on the first floor. And we just got to the part about a machine in the kiosk when you mentioned an
So
FBI
biased.
resource. So what is your question? What questions do you intend to ask this witness now?
Whether he's aware that under 5 CFR 2635.702, it is a federal offense to use his public office, to use any public office for his own private gain or for the gain of persons or organizations with which you are associated personally.
He's in a lot of
In
trouble.
other words, an FBI
Should be in
agent
a lot of
or
trouble.
an ATF agent cannot use federal resources for personal gain. The fact that he contacted an ATF agent, the fact that he utilized a facility that is owned by the federal government, run by the federal government, paid for by taxpayer dollars, and the fact that he used a machine that is owned by the federal government to download certain information for his own personal gain, that personal gain being, these are the curated texts that I'm going to turn over to law enforcement, that's a federal offense.
All right, so those
There you
questions
go.
are
Crime time,
going
good.
to be asked. I don't know, there's been an objection to them. I'm not sure I'm gonna let them
Good
in.
example.
But I wanted to give you the
She
opportunity.
says, I don't know what I'm going to let in. She's fucking protecting him. She is flat out protecting Brian Higgins right now. I don't know what I'm going to let in. You got to be shitting me. Oh, I went back too far.
Mr. Higgins, you indicated that the
So the jury comes back in the room at this point. Here we go.
phone was hooked up to some sort of machine at the FBI kiosk, correct?
Yes,
You're aware, sir, that under 5 CFR 2635.702, you may not use your public office for your own personal or private gain or for the gain of persons or organizations with which you are associated personally.
So keep in mind, the jury's in the room, so they're hearing this anyway, even if it's objected on, and she sustains it, just means you can't continue to ask questions, but the jury's hearing this. Look at his eyes. He is shitting his pants.
Under pain of a federal offense, correct?
Objection.
no, Your Honor.
Are you aware that under 5 CFR 2634.704, it's a felony to quote?
Objection, Your Honor, as to reading.
Go ahead and finish the question.
For an employee, I'm sorry,
So Lally was going to try to speak over him and kind of muffle out Jackson at that point, but she's going to let him at least get the question in.
an employee
Jury's hearing this. Keep in mind, the jury is hearing this.
has a duty to preserve and conserve government property and shall not use such property or allow its use for other than authorized purposes. Were you aware of that federal regulation?
That objection sustained.
Sir, notwithstanding those regulations, you utilized the services of Matt
Shameful
Kelch as a
man.
friend and a colleague, but utilizing federal resources to pull information off your phone, correct?
Objection.
Sustained as to that form.
In fact, you were successful in getting information off your phone, which is the text that you turn over to the Commonwealth, correct?
Objection.
In that form, you're almost there, Mr. Jackson. That form
at
was
him.
improper.
Shame.
The information that was ultimately pulled off your phone was the information that you selected and you and Matt Kelch worked together to get off your phone, correct?
Objection.
Is that correct?
No, Your Honor, if I could explain.
Sure.
He walked me through on how I could pull
You work
the
together.
text string with John O'Keefe and the defendant. He walked me through the process, how to use the machine.
And then you did that.
I did do that. That's
And that's
correct.
what you turned over to the police.
That's correct.
And any other information would still be on your phone ending in 5421, correct?
Well, that information stayed on my phone. I just took those strings off and provided them to the Mass State Police.
No,
So where's
it's
your
not
phone?
his question.
I do not have that phone anymore.
You've destroyed that phone, haven't you?
No, I threw the phone away.
You
Well,
destroyed
that's
it.
destroying the phone, isn't it?
I had every right to do that.
I didn't ask you about your rights. I asked you what you did.
Objection.
Sustained.
You destroyed the phone by removing the SIM card. Correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you do that? Did you pull the SIM card out?
Objection.
Did you pull the SIM card out of your phone?
He's
Honor,
shitting.
Your Honor, to the best of my recollection,
He's shitting right there. When she said, "Did you pull the SIM card?" You see his face.
if I did take the SIM card out,
If I
I would have, if I was, when I threw it away, if I was going to take it out, I would break it or cut it. But I did not wipe the phone. I did not take anything else off it. But if I was going to throw the phone away, that's what I would have done.
Okay.
You know, as an ATF agent with electronic data experience, when you pull the SIM card out and break it, and then throw the phone away and the SIM card away, you don't need to wipe the phone.
Objection.
Yeah.
Sustained. Mr. Jackson, that's it.
Your Honor,
One more question.
And then Lally stands up and he's like, what are you doing?
I can do this in 30 seconds. I think. You were aware that that there was a court order that you not alter, delete, or destroy, or in any way manipulate your phone or the electronic data associated with it, correct?
Objection.
As to what date?
As of September 23rd, I'm sorry, September 30th, 2022.
Objection.
Okay.
I don't believe that's what the court order was. I think it's
Or I
been,
can make a quick offer of proof. That's exactly what it was that he was notified.
Were you aware of that? Was that your understanding?
What's the question exactly, Your Honor? I'm sorry.
That's the question again.
Sure.
Yeah.
Were you served with a copy of a notice on September?
It's a, like, as someone said in the chat earlier, an officer, a police, an ATF agent that can't remember questions or remember dates or remember details. Isn't that what you're trained when you take an oath of office of a police officer, to remember specific details, remember times and dates? This guy can't never remember anything. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't remember. Can you read it back to me? Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor. What was the question? Are you not listening?
September 30th, 2022, that you not alter or destroy or manipulate anything on your phone on September 30th.
I was served an order. Yes, that's correct.
And isn't it true in another hearing, you explained that on September 29th, the day before you claim you got that notice, you changed phone carriers and changed phone numbers
And I maintained the phone.
until you didn't, when you destroyed it a month later by pulling the SIM card out and throwing it away, correct?
objection.
Sustained.
Did you do that in October? Did you destroy that phone?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you pull the SIM card out of your phone, Mr. Higgins?
Answer the question.
It's possible that I did. I believe that's how I've
Possible.
testified. Yes.
You testified.
It's
at a previous-
possible that if I took it out, that it was either cut or broken.
It's not just possible.
So that,
And that would have been after the date the order was already denied.
Mr. Higgins, I have one question
Objection.
left. One question. Did you, Mr. Lowley's already standing. I haven't even started.
have a
Yeah,
seat,
what are you
Mr.
doing?
Lally. Go ahead. Last question, Mr. Jackson.
Shame.
Quiet, please, quiet.
Shameful man.
Mr. Higgins, very simply, and then we're done. Did you remove the SIM card for that phone, drive onto a military base, throw the SIM card in one dumpster and the phone in a different dumpster?
That is not correct.
Did you testify that?
Was your one question, Mr. Jackson? All right.
Okay, we'll
Folks,
get you on
that's it for
Tuesday.
today. We will see you Tuesday. Have a great long weekend, please. It's very important to not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research.
Party on, Wayne. Party on, Garth. Oh, long weekend. Party on, Wayne. Party on, Garth. Well, wait till Tuesday. Tuesday. That's the day. We're only going to get one day of trial this week, so Tuesday will be the day. I will not be streaming trial on Tuesday. Unfortunately, I have to work. Actually, you know what? I might be able to do the morning session because I have to work at night. So I might be able to do a little testimony with y'all in the morning. So I probably will see Higgins come back on Tuesday. So maybe we can squeeze that in the morning. Let's see. And then I'll actually do, I definitely know I'll do a recap on Wednesday night. And we'll go from there. And then we'll just start digging in a little bit more and see what we can come up with. I know Natalie, lawyer chick, said she wanted to do something again with me this week. Maybe have me over on her channel. So I'll reach back out to her after the long weekend and see if we can get together. I'd love to have Kurt back over here again at some point, or maybe bounce over on his channel. That would be great. Oh, by the way, don't go yet. Let's see. Rogue, what do we have for a total? Yeah, she's super biased. Wow, we did a 3-hour banger tonight. What do we got for a total, Rogue? Let's see how much we're kicking back. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for being here. 210 total. All right, 210 total. 25% of 210. 52. We'll round it to 55. All right, I'm going to post the $55 donation up on Karen Reed's Defense Fund. I'll post receipts on my YouTube Facebook page and the YouTube community page. I'm going to get out of here. I am tired. It's late. Y'all should get some rest. Have a wonderful Memorial Day tomorrow. And I want to thank everybody in the past that has sacrificed, their service for us all here to be able to do this type of things that we do here on YouTube, especially Officer John O'Keefe. Thank you for your service on the line of duty. And, we're all very sad as to what happened to you, sir. And we will get the truth. The truth will come out. All right, everybody, have a wonderful night. I'll get that posted up soon. I love all of you. If you're watching this on replay, make sure to comment below, give it a like, share this stream. I'm only, let's see, 67. Let's see. I'm only about, hopefully tomorrow morning I wake up. I need 33 subs. Take out all your fake subs. I'm just kidding. I need 33 subs to get to 22,000, on to 25, and then on to 30. I can't wait. 25 is going to feel like a good number. 25 is a good number. So we need 33 subs. Hopefully I can get it overnight. Wake up tomorrow and I'm at 22,000. Thank you, all new viewers, subscribers, members. Thank you for all the support tonight, all the people that super chatted. I really do appreciate it. All right, I'm going to get out of here. I'll hit the outro. Everybody have a wonderful evening and happy Memorial Day tomorrow. Stay cool. I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.
Take the change and set the trap.